What's up? What's up? What's up?
Oh, back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Dude, can you believe it? We've been doing this for a full year, and we still have to stop and restart all the time? We're good, guys. We are good.
I mean, it's a process of elimination. We're figuring it out slowly.
Well, figuring out the loose.
Wow. Some of us are.
You're figuring it out slowly.
Wow, look at even our. I mean, that looks better there too. A lot looks a lot better, man.
Woo!
Woo!
We're back.
It only took us a year to figure out our base settings.
We're doing it.
Boom.
We might have decent base settings now. Hey guys, live your dreams. You can be just like us. We've got.
Hey, wife.
We've got.
It's our 1 year anniversary. We just figured out how to run video. You gotta woo.
I heard it.
Proud of us.
Yeah, you guys could be just like us with like 50 subscribers and like half a dozen subscribers.
Yeah.
Different platforms, man. We've got like 3 subscribers on Twitch. We got like 50 on YouTube. We're fucking killer. You could be us. You could be us. You could be top of the mountain like us.
We're like the bottom of the mountain.
What?
We're on the mountain.
But are we on the second mountain? Right? Edge? Did you guys watch that? The Edge documentary?
No, I did not yet.
Awesome. You guys both fucking suck. All right.
That's fair.
All right. Let's get back into
Only
it.
my wife gets to talk like that to me.
All right.
Just got video back, so maybe not like.
No, yeah, do that.
Not the face.
He can do that. It doesn't make any difference on our video. It's his CPU that's being fried by that.
Hey, Lunisa.
Lunisa, what's up? Thank you for the diamond thing. Is that a mountain? Is that the first mountain?
We don't know what that is.
I don't know what anything is. We're so bad at this. It's a bit.
It's so good.
What the fuck's a bit?
I don't know, but it sounds good.
Isn't that the money thing?
I don't know if I want viewers that give us bits on here.
I
Like,
do.
don't
I
like
want all the
excluding
bits.
It says cheer 1, but I also don't know what it does.
It says to cheer.
It says, yeah.
Cheer 1 bit for your first badge. Oh.
Oh, you pay for bits. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I'm into the bits. How do I...
Oh, that's awesome.
Can I use
Wait.
this?
Okay.
No.
We got 10 bits. We have 11 bits.
Show all cheer motes. What's going on here? Thank you for the bit. It's gonna drive us nuts all night as we try and figure out pay for bits to cheer you. Woo! We got bits. Woo!
Uh-oh.
It was just a small
Dude, bits
one.
trend.
Just a quick spurt.
Do bits translate into physical currency in any way?
Probably. Lunisa's buying us a drink. No, a lot of that stuff does. Yeah. A lot of those things. A lot of the things that people throw at us that doesn't look like a sub, it does translate into actual money that goes into the account. Once we get a certain amount, it'll cash us out.
Well, cheers and thank you.
Yeah, cheers. National Beer Day, our 1 year anniversary, and the first day of bits. When I bits,
Yeah.
you bits, you bits.
Whoa.
Boom.
I don't know what those emojis.
Did you just bust out the freak nasty?
Yeah, I just freak nastied it. When I bits, you bits, we bits.
Put your hand upon my bits.
I wouldn't say it like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
In my Twitch chat, getting bits. When I bits, you bits, we bits.
That's why we only have so many followers.
Yeah, but we're swimming in bits now, man.
Yeah.
We're bit swimming.
How many
Screwed
things
with
does
that.
Twitch have? What? We have
All
subscribes,
right.
we have bits, we have follows.
Yeah, we're killing it. All right, let's get through AEW. The women's match I thought was better than most women's matches they've had in typically. What do you say about that?
Yeah.
Do you what?
Good.
Yeah. Oh, and they ended up signing that girl, Anna J.
Yeah.
They signed
I
her,
think
which I
she
thought
looked-
was cool. I think she has a good look. And her and Akita worked really well together. is gifting 1 tier, 1 sub to her community. First gift sub on the channel. Gifted a tier, 1 sub to Miss Fabtina. Whoa! Woo! Woo!
Wait, it's Miss Fabtina? I thought it was like multiple sclerosis Fabtina.
Well, don't encourage him,
like
Kevin.
charity.
Some crooked Fabtina.
I broke Kevin. Yes, I broke Kevin.
He's very unhappy.
I'm going to go cheers Lanissa. Yeah! Cheers! Boom.
Let's see. Moxley, Hager. What do you think about Hager? Do you actually think he's a badass? Do you think he's coming across like a badass?
Nope.
Me neither.
He's coming off like Brock. Like they're booking him as their Brock Lesnar, and the thing with it is Brock Lesnar started looking like a badass, continued to look like a badass, and I feel like Brock Lesnar, if anything, when he came back or even when he went to the UFC, he was aware that he's not looking great. There's a lot behind him, and he showed up. Jake Hager has done, a decent in Bellator. Jake Hager is, Jake Hager is a better fighter than I am.
Okay, but
Better
he's
fighter
like,
than all three.
he's had 2 matches. He's only won 1. The other one, he was so fucking scared about losing, he nut checked a guy. And somehow that wasn't a DQ. It was just a no contest. Like we'll just stop the fight. I don't buy into the Jake Hager being an incredible fighter. I think he's the type of dude who thinks he's a badass fighter, and when he's put up against the wall, he doesn't know what to do. I don't think his mind works right. But at the same time, he's got amateur behind him, right?
Yeah, he does. But the thing with wrestling is I wouldn't even say 50% physical. It's like 30% physical. The rest of it is the other aspects, you know. Stone Cold didn't have the best body, but Stone Cold looked like a mean, scary sumbitch because of all the stuff he did. You have to do more. And Jake Hager, I don't know what he has. He's taller than most of the roster because their roster is tiny as fuck. But what does he bring to the table?
Hands and pockets.
Well, that's Orange Cassidy.
Oh,
Yeah,
crap.
Hager looks like Orange Cassidy, but big for sure.
Damn it.
No, Orange Cassidy looks better.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I feel bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy looks like he works out. Jake Hager is a big dude, but he looks like a retired football player.
Yeah, I'm not buying into the Jake Hager, and I want to buy into it. I think Jake Hager versus, you know what it's looking more and more like, and it sucks, but it looks a lot like the Intercontinental Division made their own like promotion. You know what I mean? Like it feels a lot like how NXT felt for a long time. Like this is clearly where people go to get better. Like back before NXT was like Finn Balor, where it was like, oh hey, people go here to develop. When NXT started out, where it's like, oh, people go down here to get better. That's what it's starting to feel like with these with the fact that all their top guys don't come off imposing. They come off fucking campy. The whole Jericho package they did with him in the pool, him in the hot tub. I thought that was just trash, man. I was just, if you're a heel and you're supposed to make me hate you or boo you, why are you putting on like this theatrical, jokey presentation, you know?
Yeah. Didn't Adam Cole do that a couple weeks ago from the pool interview?
Yeah, but he was talking like he was cocky. At one point, Jericho literally talked to a drone and tried to convince it and then said, get back here. Then screamed, release the hounds, and made the goofiest face he could make because he thought it was funny. Then he climbed out of the hot tub wearing leather pants. And then as they cut to the hounds being released, it showed his dogs asleep and stuff. It was very jokey. It was, let's make this as funny as possible. Let's make everybody laugh. Heels aren't trying to make people fucking laugh.
You guys are making AEW more and more appealing for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. We try.
You should definitely check it out. What do you think of Lance Archer versus Marco Stunt, dude?
Man, Marco Stunt did a job.
It was
Marco Stunt got his ass thrown around.
Which was funny because it was also like, okay, that's what you can do with Marco Stunt. But it also didn't come off as imposing to me as I think they think it does. We'll have him just literally throw Marco Stunt around. The dude looks like he's built at 75 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I could throw a child.
Like, I think the biggest thing right now, and I think they don't have anyone they want to give to toss around. Like, when you said that comment about Jericho, I just thought, what this feels like is it's so much like a cartoon, but it's a cartoon that's also trying to convince you that it's serious. It's like it's self-aware and comedic, yeah, but you either go all in on that or you go into being serious. It's tilted in the wrong way too much. And in this case too, what is the point of this? By having Marco Stunt there, getting his ass tossed around and stuff like that, like a toy, it doesn't make Lance Archer look good. If you're going to do this, you need Lance Archer to not even win the match. Like, you need Lance Archer to just destroy someone, and then have it be like when Brock Lesnar came in and beat up Spike Dudley. Like, he decimated Spike Dudley, but it wasn't a match. It was nothing even close to a match. It was just a beating.
Yeah.
And you need to have people that this becomes a beating to. You have to have people where this would be a spot to do a squash, and they didn't do a squash. They did they put too much into stunt, and but then they're also not.
I think it took like too much to put Marco Stunt away. I think I would have liked it more if Lance Archer, because this felt a lot like, here's a real man pro wrestler coming in against a child, and he's just going to beat the shit out of the kid. But the kid kept putting up a fight, which I thought was shitty. I would have liked it, I think, if Lance Archer came out there, literally just grabbed Marco's Stunt while he's like wiggling and thrown him into the crowd like he did at the end. But then that's it. They just count him out. They count him to 10, and that's it. And he just stands in there and he just leaves. And like, maybe he grabs a mic. Maybe he says, "I'm ready for an actual match now, please." You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
But when you're ready to give me a real opponent, I'll be back. I think that they put too much into Marco Stunt, making people think that, I don't know, maybe this whole promotion is just so tongue in cheek and so everything's a goof. Like, I don't know if I can. They keep telling me to take it seriously, but yeah.
I like humor a lot in wrestling, and I think there's a space for it. I do, and I appreciate what AEW does, bringing in something different. But even as a fan of a lot of the people there's things I find weak. There's things that, because they then do something that you need to have a classic like wrestling bring in, and you can't do it because of what you've done. This felt like, you need a hornswoggle. You need someone whose ass is there to get beat. Yeah. They get paid well. Their jobs to get beat. QT Marshall. But I feel like maybe in a sense also what we could say here is, well, we want to make it so that there's no jobbers. There's a reason there's jobbers. There's people that are workers. In Cody, I feel like maybe what's happening is behind the scenes, you ask people what they want to do. And you have people that don't understand that there have to be winners and losers in this.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem they have, is that they want to come out with like, wrestling's for everyone. Everyone's a main eventer. Everyone can look incredibly strong, but it just creates for a lot of inconsistencies, and they don't get the time that they need to put over people the right way. Lunisa is saying that they believe they're still getting their feet wet, and they're getting their feet under themselves to be able to have the big moments with big names. Fabtina's having a hard time getting hyped about someone without character or story that's speaking to them, and that all that goofy stuff seems distracting. Ultimately, that's kind of what's going on in the chat right now. But
yeah,
I think that until they say, these people can lose a lot and it's okay because they'll have their time. Like, that's the other thing people don't give enough credit to WWE when you look at it. A lot of these people get their moment. They get their time. But for a while, they're coming in and, hey, you're going to job now for the next 2 years because we need a strong jobber. But that doesn't mean you'll never get your time. And I think the AEW's afraid of never being able to give people their time.
And you can make someone be a jobber, make them still compelling. You can make them be like someone who's fun. This is where to what Lunice is saying, I think what they need to make themselves get on their feet and have these big moments is something that I was hoping they would do in this time is make productions, make stories. Like, who is this person? Like, they did a great job with the video for Lance Archer. I feel like that was great.
Yeah.
I feel like Jake's pre-recorded promo was good.
Yeah.
But we need this for other people. We have so many people on your roster we still don't know about.
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to know about. We're supposed to be, like, intrigued about. You know, like, I would like to learn more about Sonny Kiss. I'd like to learn more about QT Marshall or Brandon Cutler. Do video packages for them so we can learn. And then, you know what? Yeah, you might have them losing, but you know more. When they had Brian Kendrick v. Spanky and get his ass handed to him all the time on SmackDown. Yeah, he was getting his ass beat, but he was a present character. He was a character that we knew more about. You know, he was silly. Do this. Or not.
I don't know. I think that there's, I think, to me, like, I felt like Cody being on commentary and the way he talks about QT Marshall, if he's not trying to pick a fight with QT Marshall, then he doesn't understand that there should be some form of separation between reality and TV. Because the way that he talks about QT Marshall going through the hair therapy, getting that hair transplant, then they put up a graphic of him this past week and he goes, oh, look it, they added extra hair to QT Marshall, trying to make him look better, I guess. And you're like, are you trying to be an asshole to someone who's supposed to be your best friend in wrestling?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're not building for a fight for a guy who's in your, quote, family, then you're just coming off as a piece of shit. Like, you're being a dick, dude. You know?
Yes. Absolutely. If you're doing this, but you're the face.
Yeah, you're the face.
Yeah, and you've booked yourself as you're not the. And it's weird to me because the transition from Cody being this weird rich heel, which I liked, and being the elite and their YouTube stuff, to the face of the company, and you know he's really become a good example of a weird, bad, valiant face. That thing I say a lot, where they're making him this, not just the face of the company, but literally like, standing up for what's right. And no, what made him cool was kind of being this, like, I'm owed this, I'm a rich asshole thing.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, then you can't be this, because he is, he's not bad as a face. But then don't make fun of someone you care about. Be a dick. Pick a fight with them. Or don't.
Yeah.
It's weird to be in the middle.
I didn't have an issue with the other matches that went on. I guess there's only one other thing I wanted to touch ground on with it before we get into SmackDown for a minute, before we talk about Mania, because that's really the big thing, right? Mania happened, and there's a lot to talk about there. We don't want to neglect that. What do you think of what they're doing with Brody Lee so far, dude?
It's getting old fast. It's getting really old fast. And, I watching a lot of wrestling YouTubers as well to kind of get other people's opinion of it. And, I don't often agree with them because I feel in wrestling YouTube, a lot of people are really, really big fans of AEW and nothing can go wrong. Yeah. Like, a lot of the stuff that I did not like, I heard, oh yeah, what was really cool, this and that. A lot of people are really tired of Brody Lee's version of this. And it's frustrating because I really, when we first saw this, I was really excited. And I told you, I want to see what they do with it. Get away from the Vince McMahon stuff, and they're not. They're doubling in. And they're even bringing up, it's not even rumored things. They're almost adding things to the character of Vince McMahon that aren't true. And it makes, because you've set the precedent that the Exalted One is kind of a portrayal of Vince McMahon from what smart marks assume he is to be.
Yeah.
You are now adding and insulting. And
yeah, now you're changing the narrative. People are probably starting to assume, oh, that's what Vince is actually like. Oh, Luke's giving us, or Brody's giving us a peek behind the curtain on Vince. And you're like, no, he's not. He's just taken a character and gone wild with it, which is also fine. But like you said, they set the precedence that this is Vince. It's
like when, in the 90s, they had the character of Virgil being named, why is he named Virgil? And the idea and everything I heard was it was meant to be named after Dusty. And then when he went to WCW, of course they named him Vincent.
Yeah.
And that was more of a direct thing. And there's only so much legs for it. And when the idea, even in tongue-in-cheek, is meant to be an insult, then you're seeing elements to the character come out that are then meant, to fans, they sound like, well, you're still making fun of this person. I think at its core, if you're defined as being, your gimmick is meant to be a comparison to Vincent McMahon, as you separate yourself out, it's harder and harder to do that.
Yeah.
And it's going to become more that, like, well, wait, is everything here meant to be this? Even when it's not, I don't think he can, rapidly, I don't think this can be saved.
Yeah, it's weird, too, because he came into the Dark Order with the AEW fans not backing the Dark Order. With, like you said, I get interested in what the AEW fans don't like, because I know that they're going to like most of it, and that's fine. Like, I don't go on the internet, and I try to keep too much of the show from being us just knocking.
Thanks,
What's up?
Hitbox.
Hitbox! Woo!
Thank you, Hitbox.
For 4 months. Woo!
Dude, yeah. That's awesome. Thank you.
It's all over the desk.
I'll get it.
You're looking for stuff.
Let's see. So, yeah, because the AEW fan base likes so much of the stuff, I try not to have too much of our show even be negative about AEW specifically, unless we're being, like, a decent kind of critical. Because I'm okay with people just liking stuff that I don't like. That doesn't bother me. Where it seems like a lot of people are bothered by somebody who doesn't like what you don't like, So I'm totally fine with them liking virtually everything, but I do get fascinated about the things that they don't like, the things they're not getting behind. And that's one of those things. Brandy and her weird Nightmare Collective thing, the AEW fans were not behind it. They were adamantly saying this is trash, get it off of our TV, which is crazy. And then to see them, they weren't backing the Dark Order either. And then you bring in Brody Lee and they all go, oh, thank God, this is going to save the Dark Order. This is going to be the thing. So it is kind of interesting to me that at this point they're like, oh, it did not save it and it's making it worse and we didn't think it could be worse. And the whole thing needs to be scrapped.
I feel like they waxed and waned with the Dark Order, and I feel like now they've just buried it. Like, I liked when they started doing the weird video packages. I like the weird, I like the website, showing the Dark Order, website. I like the little things they were doing outside of AEW. But then when Christopher Daniels got involved, I was like, oh, shit, and I hated when Christopher Daniels was involved in it.
Yeah, and then that's been weird. Like, that kind of, came and went all of a sudden, because now it was like, Brody had every reason to start a feud with Christopher Daniels, and instead he just hasn't. He's started a feud with his own people, apparently.
Yes.
Like, the fact that he's just slapping all of his own followers, it's like...
Why are you doing this focus on Chris Daniels?
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Exactly. Why aren't you just trying to get everyone to take out Christopher Daniels and everyone he loves? You know what I mean? Make a thing out of that. But he's not. What was that, Kevlar?
No, nothing. Got a drink for my producer and a little stiff.
All right.
Are we just referring to, our partners as producers at this point?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Can't kayfabe producer at all, Clump? You fuck?
You didn't kayfabe me earlier, so me.
No. Hey, we all need producers if we're gonna be remoting.
You're all only producing.
Yes, Lunisa, you are a producer now.
Lunice is a producer now? Very well done.
Yes.
Nice. The only show with 3 producers and can't stay on live for more than 15 minutes at a time.
Theoretically, Lunisa's probably a star on the show because she's contributed more than I have.
Damn it.
Also, fuck was blocked
Fuck was blocked?
on my chat.
Holy was not?
Oh.
No, Holy was not.
I'm surprised.
Remember. Yeah.
All right, SmackDown. There's not a lot here to cover prior to WrestleMania in general, but they did talk about Miz and Morrison attacking New Day and Usos, which was fine. The 3-way Naomi, Lacey, and Tamina made Tamina look very strong. They showed Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, very good. The women's match was good, and Tamina looked great. And I believe that had Sasha and Bayley on commentary. So I guess let's just stop me if there's something you want to definitely tackle here. We had Dolph Ziggler versus Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
That went decent. Daniel Bryan
Yeah,
versus Shinsuke.
It was cool exposition. When do you think they're going to reveal that the hacker person that we've seen all these weird glitches from is Ali? Because I was hoping they would,
It can't be anyone but Ali, can it? Do you have any other ideas of who it could
it's
be?
got to be Ali. Everything about it, because it's that ring thing with the hand. It's somebody revealing the truth because before he disappeared for a while, the gimmick for him was this perfect this like savior. And yes, Lunisa Fudgeballs is not blocked.
Very good.
In the chat. Yeah. But yeah, I'm waiting for that. I think that was that it's this weird intersection with this feud. What did you guys think of the reveal of that it was Dolph and
That's true.
Sonya?
That all took place right here. What do you think of that, Kevlar?
Hello?
Well,
Yes.
Long time caller, or first time caller, long time listener. You guys are great. I thought it was very predictable. Like I felt like I saw it coming from, while ways, and just like I said, very predictable.
yeah, we said Sonya pretty early on. I think the shock was that they didn't try to shock us. Because I thought there was that moment where Sonya was talking and you're like, are they going to do that this was Tucker too? And they didn't. They stayed safe with the Dolph. And you're like, okay. The thing I did take away from it, and maybe it's just because I like tattoos, Sonya had a tattoo that she got about a week ago. But the playback was from February 14th.
And it had the tattoo?
Yes. Yeah, so she had this big tattoo on her arm, this enormous tattoo that did not appear before last week. And, it was all like, here's over a month ago. And you're like, that's crazy. You guys caught that on film a month ago in the future of back then with the tattoo present.
Back to the future. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
Would be crazy is if we had a WWE Dark Order and that was all just a skit too,
We did see a WWE Dark Order at WrestleMania.
Yes, it's true.
True.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah, so I wasn't shocked by it either, but I do like that it's moving the story along in that way, and I like where we got with it.
Do you guys think it would have been better if they, rather than having it be revealed on SmackDown before WrestleMania, they just held out and did it at WrestleMania? Because that was my thought, is they waited so long with the reveal. I was thinking, well, it's going to happen at WrestleMania.
No, because I think that it played out well at Mania, letting Mandy come out in a rush to do something about it and then snake out of the ring for the match to complete. They would have had to halt the whole match to play that video, to have things play out. Like, this allowed time for the character of Otis to come to terms, and allowed for Sonya to be ringside against Otis, which I think was also kind of important.
And Mandy to think about what's going on.
Yeah, and for Mandy to not come out ringside when she was advertised as ringside, I thought was very good too.
Yeah.
Well, it gave Otis kind of a Mania moment.
Yes.
Because if this would have happened at, or if the reveal would have happened at Mania, it would have just prolonged this storyline.
Yeah, and by having it out there, it had everyone rooting for Otis. It had everyone behind Otis the whole time. Which I think is, like you said, important too, because we would have gone in there rooting for Otis a little bit, but with this coming up on SmackDown, we went into Mania just needing an Otis win. Let's see, and the last segment was John Cena accepting the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse Challenge. This is where they had the video at the end there where the puppets were all in the audience. The Fiend shows up on the podium. And then all of a sudden it cuts to the ring and there's Bray Wyatt right behind Cena's ear saying, "Let me in." And then cuts out and then he's gone.
I really like this.
I thought this was dope.
Yeah. It got me so pumped for the match. This is one of the things that they've done Fiend stuff so well without having the audience there.
Yeah.
They've never done bad with it, but this, I think, was the perfect way to do this entire feud, because it's a way to take advantage of a special situation. Because the editing, the cuts, it makes him look supernatural, and I loved it. It was perfect.
And the way they did it worked. I know a lot of people were complaining. I even saw a ton of AEW fans complaining, saying, I don't want to hear anybody talk shit about transportation anymore. Matt Hardy did it, and it made more sense because he had a drone that could project him. I was like, first off, there's no drones that do that. Secondly, it didn't look good. Like there was and also thirdly, how the fuck did he get into the ring if he was a projection? So there's a whole lot of issues with that, but I thought this was a really cool way to do it. I thought the character of Bray Wyatt already comes in with supernatural background and prowess, so I thought it worked really well. And it exactly was to me like, oh, it can be done, and there's a way to do it. And I really felt more than anything that I hope Matt Hardy's watching, because I'd like Matt Hardy to do more believable stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the character of Matt Hardy, like the broken character, relies a lot upon its. To me, it's always been the insanity of the character, in that it's almost like the comedic, like, oh well, yeah, that works because of that. Like it's in part meant to be that it's so dumb and not like well put together, and it works with Impact, and it's just it's he owns that gimmick. That's part of it. Going into other parts of that promotion, you almost need to separate that out. Anything that involves Matt Hardy has to be its own separate thing from the rest of the promotion. Especially if you're a billion-dollar company, you can do so much more, and then have this just be its own crystallized thing.
Yeah.
To me, what upsets me is when you have other people there, just buying into it and not questioning it, because it makes more sense for Chris Jericho to just question, like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Rather than it be, like playing into it in such a dumb, silly way.
Gotcha. What were you going to say, Kevlar?
I was just going to say, I think this is one of the few times where WWE looked at something and, they saw the Matt Hardy teleport thing and they said, hey, we can do this, not go directly in competition with them, but hit it out of the park, and that's why they did it. Especially since, everyone's, complaining that, it's hard to watch. I think viewership's down, so they were like, hey, let's take a jab and punch at our opponent when we can. And I think this is an easy one where they're like, all right, let's throw the Fiend here and then Bray in the ring and show them, hey, this is how we're done. This is why you're beneath us, type of thing.
I could see that.
I don't know if it's a direct compare. I mean, I could see the idea of that. I don't know if it's. I would compare it directly like that, where they're like competing directly with each other, because it's been going on so long. To me, I think it was like this, like a realization, or using just the perfect tool set for something they've already been doing.
Yeah, I do think that they've been doing that sort of thing with Bray for a while, but here was their chance to be all like, oh, with an empty arena, we can step it up a notch. Where I do think, not to shit on it, I do think that the thought process with AEW, with Matt, was, oh, without an audience, we can step this up a notch as well.
Yes.
But it just got sloppy. And I think that this is where it's like, where they were able to say, that WWE was able to say, oh, this is a time you can step it up. That doesn't mean it's time to get sloppy. Like, you still got to be clever with it. And so I think what also worked with it is that you have The Fiend and Bray Wyatt as two separate characters. So when you saw The Fiend and it cuts to Bray, that's what spooked me. Like, I honestly jumped. Like, I was watching a horror film. I was like, oh, like, it got me. I was like, holy shit. I was like, when it was over, I looked at it and I was like, man, I'm a mark, man. They got me. I got worked for sure. But I thought this was a really cool way to do that. They really put it together well, where it's like, oh, that's fucking brilliant. And that's when I knew that it could work. Because at first when I saw it, I was like, no, you can't do that. It just doesn't work. It looks stupid. Then they did it. I jumped, got scared, and I was like, oh shit, you can do it if you focus.
It felt like a high school or college video production versus like real world movie production. Like,
yeah, it made everyone feel amateurish.
In terms of quality, and I think that plays a big part into it.
And maybe the Matt Hardy character, like you said, should be more goofy, and when it tries to take itself too seriously, maybe that's where it breaks down. Because they've known Matt Hardy for so long that he can't come out there and say, I'm Damascus, I'm 3,000 years old, and I'm magic. Well, okay. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna need more than that. The thing about Undertaker and Fiend and Bray and Kane is they've always, from the beginning, had that supernatural background. They didn't add it later. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, and to me, like, you're right. We've known Matt Hardy forever. Like, the creation of the Matt Hardy being broken character was, it came out of a weird moment. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And I think what's happened now is, and in a sense, the positive to me is it's the realization and bringing it back again that I love. It was a great character. It was a really cool thing to see in Impact and to see him do videos, and I love that. It was silly and dumb, and I'm okay with that. It was, to me, it was like a really cool underground sketch comedy thing. You know, it's not Matt TV, it's not an SNL, it's like, you know, Human Giant. It's something small. It's, and you can see that in the production, but it's something also different, and aware of itself that it's different and weird. But everyone around it's interacting with it like, what is this? And I like that. The negative to doing this, because they're just continuing on, and this is the part of it that we've critiqued AEW a lot, and I'm going to critique it here, is you're jumping into this, and if you're not aware of it, I can see it as jarring, and I can see it as a bridge too far. I can see it being questioned. I can see it being like, well, why? You know? And the entire, like, I'm cool with it because I've seen it. And I'm aware of it. But I could see when I pull myself out of it, like, why is everything from, okay, why is the drone there? Why is Chris Jericho acting weird? Why is Matt Hardy doing that? And you're not explaining it. You need to. And I think it would be a great opportunity to say, like, what is this? And him say, I've done this before. You know, this is something that I've done, but in character. And they're not. I think when we do the comparison of, like, you know, college to, like, a professional thing, I think of, like, other parts of AEW, then I'm like, there I think, yeah, you can really do better. Like, we talk about the Darby Allin videos. There's no reason for these to be this shitty.
Yeah, those Darby Allin videos don't have to be that way.
Well, and for Matt Hardy, like, okay, there's a reason this is shitty. To me, it's like, why would you shoot Jackass on, on the most expensive equipment without doing something with it when you don't need to? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't need it, then adding all the money to it doesn't serve a purpose.
It's true.
So I appreciate Matt Hardy being done that way. However, that doesn't mean that you shoot the Avengers on the same equipment you shoot Jackass.
Yeah.
And we love Matt Hardy, but we're confused.
Well, see, this has always been my complaint with AEW, is that they've never developed characters like they should. You know, going in, you know, especially the first couple of episodes, they were expecting you to know who Kenny Omega was, the Young Bucks, you know, Cody, and you were supposed to already know their fans, or, you know, be fans of theirs, and who you're supposed to be rooting for, who's the heel, who's the face, as much as they should. Whereas, you know, what was the other thing that came out right when AEW did?
NWA?
No, not what was it called? The WWE thing that they had, like their development, like the NXT developmental almost. Evolve, yeah. You know, watching their little video packages, you know, you could tell, all right, this is the person I'm supposed to be rooting for. This is the person I'm supposed to be booing. And AEW has never done that to me. I'm always sitting there like, all right, it's just, you know, almost like an MMA match where it's like, hey, all right, these two dudes are going at it. All right, let's see who wins. Not being fully invested and being like, all right, I want that guy to win.
Yes. Yeah, but even MMA does a great job of doing video packages before, of saying this is who this person is, this is who this person is. And then you go in there going, okay, I think I have a favorite already.
And you root for whoever you want to. It's not set up for you. I mean,
Yeah, they don't even have to set it up the same way of saying, like, this is a bad guy, this is a good guy. They could just literally set it up with, like, hey, I'm QT Marshall. This is my backstory. This is who I am. This is why I'm here. Let's get it. And you'd be like, this is cool. But I felt like from day one, which was weird, that from the watching AEW from the first day, you felt like you were coming in from behind. And you're like, why do I feel like I'm so lost in episode 1, season 1?
Yes. It eliminates so many new people. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. It eliminated me because I didn't know Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks, in Japan or anything like that. And I see them and I'm like, especially Kenny, I'm like, this dude's way overrated. I don't see it. I don't see what the hype is. And, I've seen, now some of his previous matches. Like, okay, he's got talent, he's got skill, but then you look at him in AEW and he looks like a shell of himself.
Yeah. Which could be a great story if they explored that.
I agree 100%. As the guy who's like tasked with defending AEW, the reason I like it, I think, and it speaks to the reason I'm defending it, is I'm the person who watched it more. And over again, I've said, and I believe the biggest piece they're missing is they need to define their characters. They need to give video packages, explain these people, and they've never done it. They've done, like, it feels like you're coming into season 4 of the show, and it's you need to define them. You need to show this, because as time goes on, it doesn't even feel like they're defining new people. It doesn't feel like you're walking in and being like, well, okay, I don't know who Hulk Hogan is, but clearly after watching this, Hulk Hogan's the face. It's like, cool, Hulk Hogan's the face, and then we're bringing in Jeff, and then we suddenly jump to like TNA, where it's like, wait, why is Jeff Jarrett here, and who's Jeff Jarrett? Yeah. Like, we're not even continuing the same show, we're jumping shows, and we're not defining people.
It feels that way.
And it is frustrating. To somebody who likes it, it's frustrating. To somebody who likes the performers, and to somebody who thinks these performers are incredibly talented and they tell a great story, I am frustrated by it, because the story to me would be better if you could show that, because it would, to me, invest more in it for other people by doing it.
So, do you find yourself seeing some matches thinking like, oh, this is brilliant because of this other couple things, if only everyone else knew that? Do you find yourself in that situation a lot?
I feel like the first example I'll give you is Kenny Omega versus Pac.
Yeah.
These are two amazing people who define themselves in Japan and in other promotions. And I feel like without the context of it, and you could do a short video package in advance, and you don't have to reference it, and you could say, like, I've had this story and go into it. Fuck, pay the rights to showcase it, or try and figure out a way to say the name, like, yeah, I was a cruiserweight champion. Yeah, I did this. Yes, I went to the biggest show in the world, because they've done it with other people.
Yeah.
And then do that. It became amazing, because their matches are consistently fantastic. Showcase why. Talk about why. Pay the money to show why if you have the money.
That's true.
WWE would say, like, when Gallows and Anderson came out, these guys were the IWGP Heavyweight Champions, or Tag Team Champions. When AJ Styles came out, AJ Styles was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Brock Lesnar was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Tell me this.
Building into Shinsuke and AJ at WrestleMania, remember they pulled all those old Japanese footage of them and all the magazine clippings from them in Japan, and being like, this is why this is important, because they've had one match in the history of time, and they've been at the top of their game and the top of their companies every time they've been somewhere. Like, it's really fascinating. But at the same time, WWE's not perfect at doing that either. Perfect example for that is you can have a great match and still have me not give a shit.
Yeah, and everyone's guilty of it, but I think AEW, because of how new it is, needs to do it. I think the reason AEW has been renewed for such an extended period of time is, yeah, they are successful. They, wrestling fans, there are a pretty good portion of wrestling fans that will jump into this. Yeah. And it is a consistent rating, because ratings on TV aren't great. However, imagine how much more they could do if they created compelling stories. evidently they're going to have another AEW show on TNT. At some point, we need to have these shows be telling stories about their people. They have a podcast that, to an extent, I guess, does that, but still, put it on your show. WWE tells stories for the people over and over again, and there's nothing wrong with telling it over and over again. I'd rather hear it 30 times than never hear it at all, because if I don't know about it, then I don't know I should care.
Yeah, and with WWE, they put on extra content in podcasts and shows for the people who are that much more invested, but you're not missing the story by just watching their weeklies.
Yeah.
Or even just watching their pay-per-views. Which leads us into WrestleMania 36. It happened.
It was weird and awesome.
Yeah. I hate this song.
I just stopped hearing it in my head.
Does that scream big fight feel or what?
You guys sound like Cartman trying to sing karaoke right now.
Yeah, when he was singing Sticks.
And I love that Kyle had to sing the entire song.
Yeah.
Do it, fat boy.
Dude. It was pretty cool that they did it at all. And it was so big it couldn't fit into one night. How crazy is that?
Huge.
It was surprising. I'll tell you, it caught me off guard. They did not let me know. I felt a little blindsided that it was going to be 2 nights long.
And that it was so big.
Yeah, that it was so big it couldn't fit into one night. I was taken aback. I was like, wow, not prepared at all for this. Suddenly here I am on Saturday and I have 2 WrestleManias. When the fuck did this happen?
You're welcome.
They could have done anything to let me know.
At the end of that, no clue of it. At the end of that Taker match, I was like, whoa, this is a weird mid 6-hour segment.
Yes.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of it overall?
Honestly, it might be one of my favorite WrestleManias.
Nice.
As a whole.
Yeah, it's up there. It was so weird and unique, but they pulled it off, and the quality of matches obviously didn't go down by any means. But then like the whole Taker match, that was by far the best match of the whole thing.
Yeah. I felt like it was a little hard to compare because I do understand the argument that it wasn't really a match, and I do understand the argument that it was more of a spectacle, and so sometimes people are reviewing it and then removing those from the conversation. We'll talk about the Boneyard match, but let's talk about the rest of WrestleMania, because it's so far away apart.
So, the reason I say that I think it might be one of my favorite WrestleManias is it is a weird moment, but and this is something that you couldn't do in another WrestleMania, but to me kicked it over was there was an amount of self-awareness of the situation without bringing it super into focus of the weirdness of it that I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved little moments like the intro, the silliness of it, where they brought so much to it where it felt like such an entertainment event. It felt like, like a variety show in the best way. And WrestleMania being the biggest spectacle, the biggest event that WWE has, to me, this was a very different spectacle, but it was, to me, the biggest spectacle. Yeah. I think as things change and we go back to big events and big arenas and having crowds, I'm not going to see this as the weird, ugly duckling WrestleMania, the hodgepodge WrestleMania that it could have been, because this could have very well been, written off. And I think it still is a fantastic event, a fantastic opening to a year of wrestling. And, as canon goes, it'll be a WrestleMania that I think is going to stand the test of time.
I think that it's funny that when you think about leading into it, It wasn't a conversation of what was going to be good or what was going to be bad. The conversation was literally people saying, I'm excited to see what they do. And everybody else who didn't say that said, this is literally going to be the worst WrestleMania of all time. There's no point in putting it on. There's no way they can put on any show that's going to be interesting at all to anybody at all, ever. And to see them do something that was so spectacular, it speaks volumes to me that the conversation was, is it worth even seeing the train wreck versus you shouldn't even be putting this on, and for it to be arguably one of the more talked about WrestleManias that have ever happened, and maybe one of the most watched, and arguably some of the best segments that have ever happened on WrestleMania, maybe at this WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think that the intro was still the original intro that they were planning on doing?
Oh, hell no.
No. I think the ships, yes, but I think Stephanie obviously not, and I think the Star Spangled Banner thing, I think absolutely not. I wouldn't have been
The
so.
Star Spangled Banner thing was amazing. I love that.
It was so good. It was really, really good that they did that. There was a moment where watching it almost felt like this is the last WrestleMania we'll ever have, as they're going through the history of everyone who sang this song, and I was all like, this feels really sad.
Yeah. I feel like they recut the intro. I don't think the ships package at the beginning was the same. I think they even recut that. I wondered what this would have looked like in a different universe where we had it in the show, or had it in Tampa Bay, and I don't think it would have been better than this.
Yeah.
I think this was infinitely better because it was weird.
I think that I wonder what would have happened if they didn't have this option. Because the Boneyard match probably wouldn't have happened. The Firefly Funhouse match maybe would have happened, but it would have looked like much different. Like those types of matches, you can't do that in an arena. You don't get away with it. I was watching today. I went back and rewatched the House of Horrors match, because remember how terrible that was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, without question, without hesitation, that was a terrible, terrible match. I went back to rewatch it, and there was a lot of cool shit going on in there. It got terrible because they had to make it back to the arena. The end of the match had to happen in the ring. So they had to do something to Randy where he would still be able to get out, so they throw this refrigerator on him that looks like it hits him and rolls off. Bray gets into a limo, drives away. Now, by the way, there's a bunch of stuff going on in that House of Horrors that made me think The Fiend has been on his mind for a while. There was one room completely with red lights and had these like sticks and things like tied together, kind of like a True Crime, or what was that show? Was it True Crime? With Matthew McConaughey? The line is a flat circle?
True Detective.
True Detective. They had like those kind of sticks and horns up on the wall, and the whole room is just pure red light, so it almost looked like a satanic rituals happening in there, something of those sorts. And Randy looks in the room and then just walks away from it. He doesn't want any. You see him look into it. It shows a close up on a few things, and he just kind of like looks away and goes. And it's like, was he harnessing the Fiend right there? And then when he leaves the house, Bray gets on his like hands and knees and he says something. I forget the exact line he screams at the house, but then the whole house is illuminated red. Mm-hmm. And then he gets in the limo and goes back to the arena, and everything falls to shit after that. It ends up ending because he gets into the ring, then Randy Orton shows up out of nowhere and just beats the shit out of Bray from top to bottom in the ring. Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers show up, and they beat up Randy Orton. And then they remind you that this is during the time when Jinder had stolen the belt, didn't win the belt, but he was carrying it around anyways. And they cost Randy the match, and that's how Bray wins. And so the whole thing just falls to shit. But as they cut away from the House of Horrors and go back to the arena just for the commentators to go, what did we just see? The crowd is just booing so loud because they hate that they're watching some shit on TV. You know what I mean?
It's a hard thing to do to have, like, I see GR Lunar put in here, I think it'd be cool to do more wrestling skits, and I agree. I think wrestling skits, these separate moments have a place. It's that we maybe have to buy in and do them. We have to make them good. We don't have to just have comedy moments. We can have compelling stories outside of it all. It's hard though to show that to fans in an arena. Maybe having it be content that's exclusive in some capacity, like halftime heat or network specials or moments of Raw where you're not watching it. Where you have your dark matches or something there. But we got to do something because I think the creativity of it is good, or just it has to be really compelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so too, and I think you can do more cool stuff with it. I just wonder, I think this is the setting where they could do it, where I think that the fans were ready for it because we were in a different environment to watch. I think had you put that on a screen at WrestleMania, I think the crowd would have ruined it for us.
Yeah.
For
put them out of the building.
So I think it's really fascinating to think about what kind of match would we had with AJ and Undertaker. It may have been a buried alive match in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been right there on the stadium like they did all the other ones. Maybe it wouldn't have, but I think that we got this style match and we got these two video phenomenons, as it were, because of where we're at. And so part of me thinks that a lot of this WrestleMania was better off because of it. And I think this is a really cool reset. And I hope the fans come back and be less shitty. Because the one thing we learned is we don't fucking need you. Quit shitting on everything, guys.
Yeah, no, like we talked about this a few times, but these times we look back at this, some of the promo work we saw has been so much better because we don't have the angry fans. And there's moments the fans are awesome. A lot of times the fans are awesome. This is an event that speaks to the fans, but also, whether it be some performers don't do well when they have the fans reacting to them, they can't play off the fans. Or, do we need everything there? Just diversifying what we see is really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think we need that more,
For sure.
I think the one that suffered from no fans being there is Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there like talking. Normally he's yelling, like passionate, putting it into it, and he just sat there and was like, "Brock's here. He's gonna win." It's a spoiler, and it's like it was almost flat, but you just needed the crowd reaction for him.
Yeah, I think he did a decent job, but yeah, I think he did suffer without a crowd because he plays with the crowd so fucking well. He just orchestrates them that, yeah, I think that he didn't have as much oomph as he normally does.
I don't think he put in as much oomph. I think he tried deliberately to not be as loud. Like when he had his that promo at the beginning where he just talked rather than like got super hype. Kind of made sense to me, but it was something I didn't even notice Heyman, which I usually like. Heyman is, and this is good, but it sounds bad. He's pulling into the match so much that you're like, you have to be aware of him, and it didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think to a certain degree he couldn't yell.
Yeah.
Because if he yelled, who knows, the commentators might have picked it up or whatever and might have sounded weird. Because in the SmackDown Women's Championship match, they show it, then they show a replay, and they have the audio from the replay, and you can just hear Michael Cole yelling in the background.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh, Bailey hit her with an elbow," or something like that, and you're just like, "Shut up."
Yeah, calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And commentary, I think, on WrestleMania was, I think, the biggest issue. I feel like that when I went back and saw people's responses to these matches, I felt like the commentating had a lot to do with their responses to them, because when I watched it, we were group chatting and video chatting with friends and family the whole time, and so we didn't hear a ton of the commentary, to be honest. So we got to watch the matches just kind of as matches, and when I went back and found out what some of the commentary was like on matches, I could see exactly why people were just destroyed by some of these. Like, coming to mind, Day 2, Edge and Orton. I thought that match was awesome. I thought it was perfect. What did you guys feel about that match?
So I thought I thought it was a little bit long, but not as long as I've heard some people say they felt it was.
How many minutes do you think should have been shaved off, Clump?
I think they could have. Well, I'll put it this way. So in the middle of the match, I dipped out and I went to the bathroom.
Okay.
I came back, and so I missed 5 minutes, but I didn't feel like I missed anything.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, and that maybe that I don't know if it was a specific spot you could have taken away because it was all great. It was just long, you know. It was a really, really great war movie.
Yeah.
But how long does this battle scene need to be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that right now. Kevlar, what did you think of the match?
Yeah.
You know, I liked it. I thought it was good. Truth, I don't think it felt like it went long.
Me neither.
I think it was nice. It was back and forth. You know, at times there's like, all right, this is going to be it. You know, without like the true, you know, finisher and stuff like that. But, you know, like I said, I liked it. I thought it went back and forth. It kept me entertained. I was, invested in it, and you know, I thought it was great.
So here's how I felt about it. Let me see. I felt like it was perfectly long. I felt like it was as long as it needed to be honest, because I felt that the story was that Edge and Randy Orton were fighting about who had more grit, and that Randy was here with longevity because of his grit, and that Edge went home because he didn't have the grit. And the story of Edge being that he left because of injury and comes back 8 years later. Is he ready? Is he capable? Is he too delicate? Do we have to protect him? Every bump he takes, people go, huh? So I think that I heard a few people saying that they hated the fact that there was so many 9 counts on areas where you knew the match wouldn't end. But I feel like those are the same people who would not say that there were too many false finishes in an Adam Cole match. You know what I mean? There's too many times that he gets on the last shot and then doesn't get the pin where I know he's not going to win. And other people say, oh, yeah, but it could have been it. And I say, no, it couldn't have been. It was 10 minutes in, and his matches go 35 minutes long. That's what they do, right? So people were trying to say this is the longest match in WrestleMania history. I want to see numbers because I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe for a second that it's even longer than any average Adam Cole match. I think the reason it had to go this long, and I think the reason it would have meant less if it went less, is because Edge had to prove to himself, to Randy, and to the fans that not only is he back, but he's not fragile, and he can go, and he's got grit, and there's no taking him out just because he's here for him, and he's here to fight. You know what I mean?
There's a couple times where I thought Edge was going to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'd take a bump and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, you know, and then, you know, and I don't know if he was playing it up, you know, like doing the whole shaking the hands thing and stuff like that, but, you know, like I said, it was entertaining. I loved it. I don't see how people complain about it, but there's people that complain about everything.
There's definitely minutes in there and moves in there where it's like, theoretically, could that move have been removed? Could you have taken 5 minutes out and got a similar match? Yeah, but what does it mean by him having an almost 40-minute match? Versus what does it mean if he had a 20-minute match? I think it means more to the comeback and that character in the comeback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and storyline-wise, it showed both guys that had something to prove against the other person, and they were giving it their all. And, you know, I loved it.
And here was a match where the synopsis was, I love you more than you love you. You know what I mean? Like, that's how we started with, I'm going to take you down because I love you more than you love you. And then,
and you need to stop.
Yes, and Edge having to defend himself to prove himself to the person who thinks that he loves him more than he loves himself, to prove to him that you don't know me as well as you think you know me. Try and kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
The longest singles match in WWE history is San Martino versus Erich.
Von Erich. Mm-hmm. So how long was that San Martino match? I believe that, but
after 81 minutes, the match ended in a draw due to curfew.
An 81-minute match for curfew. See if there's a longest. See if you can see a WrestleMania match. Okay. Longest WrestleMania matches.
Can I throw something out?
Yeah.
Isn't it going to be Shawn and Brett?
I would think that the Iron Man match, Shawn and Brett, would be mentioned. I definitely know it's not there, but I want to see. I mean, that was definitely in a WrestleMania. I think there's other matches that come close that people aren't thinking about. Go ahead, Clump.
What I was going to say is I think why people are saying this, and they go into the length of it. So when I was watching, some YouTube things about it, what I heard one guy mention, it was Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. He said the commentary.
Yes.
And you mentioned commentary. And you said that was where it suffered. And yes, absolutely. When I watched a bit of this back with commentary, the commentary made this match hold so much longer than just watching with friends or watching without audio. Because the commentary wasn't really adding to it. It was pulling from it. It was people going, oh, like they were shocked and upset by it. And when you have that happening around you and you're watching it, to me, it made those moments by themselves, they make you think of what's happening. They make you go, whoa. But when you're having that for, 20 minutes or whatever this was, it makes it just a continuous period of you watching something that you're supposed to be shocked by, so you're focusing on it super heavily. You get what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that I heard that they were really quiet and talking slow, and that there were long stretches where they weren't talking. Instead of feeding into the thing, saying like, "Oh my God, the determination of Edge here is insane." Like this man came back from 8 years away due to a neck injury, and for him to be back and putting himself at risk here to prove a point, to prove to Randy that he's here and that he loves his family more than Randy does, and instead of pushing the story like that, they're just going, oh, what a move.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
They weren't drawing people in with it and making people think like, oh my God, what does this mean? They were just staying out, being quiet because, the match speaks for itself. But sometimes the quietness needs a little something to keep you going, keep you invested.
Yeah.
Because we did that. We did that with each other. You and I were watching this together, Clump, and we both were going, oh, shoot. Oh, my God. Can you see that? It's like, this is insane. And, oh, my God, is he going to use this? This is crazy. And as we're talking about it, we're all more and more invested in it. And then by the end of it, it was all like, I can't believe it ended like that. Like, it's insane. But, I mean, we were even yelling at the ref. We didn't catch this at the time, Clump, but Edge told the ref to stop counting. As soon as he knocks out and chokes out Randy and he gets up and we're like, why isn't the ref counting? Because he starts to, and Edge turns to him and says, stop. And that's when he does the concerto and then says, now you can count.
No, he said, stop fucking counting.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, I watch matches and there's times where, I listen to the commentary and I'm, focused on the commentary and stuff like that. And then there's other matches where I watch and I get drawn into it and I don't even pay attention to what they're saying. And this was one of those matches where I really didn't pay attention to the commentary at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched the match for what it was, enjoyed it, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I did enjoy it as much as I did compared to other people is, I didn't pay attention to the commentary at all.
Yeah. And that's good. I think that's the right way to watch this. I think the way that they were doing the commentary when you say like the match speaking for themselves, to me it was the type of commentary you get when Randy comes out and he's going to hit Edge with a chair, and you're watching this where they're like, oh, they're shocked. How long can you be shocked and how long can you do that? Because when you do that and slow things down, it slows it down so much.
Yeah.
You have to treat this as a match, not as a little segment. And if you treat this as a 30-minute long, oh my God moment, it diminishes
watching
it, but it
TV?
makes it long. I wonder how many people listening to it got pulled in and felt bored because they heard this commentary team just be shocked by it over and over and over for 20 minutes,
Yeah. One of you guys is watching like a TV show or something on a tablet. What's going on?
Yeah, we can hear that.
Not me.
I don't hear anything.
All right. Dicks. Let's see. As far as length goes, it does make it the second longest in history. It was 36 minutes and 35 seconds. However, third to that would be 36 minutes and 28 seconds. So like less than 10 second difference. Triple H versus Foley versus Rock versus Big Show, WrestleMania 16. At 30 minutes and 50 seconds, so about 6 minutes less, you have Triple H versus The Undertaker in 28, considered one of the greatest of all time. At 30 and 43 seconds, so just shy of 6 minutes again, is HBK versus The Undertaker, 25, considered one of the greatest matches of all time. at 30 and 30. So again, still about 6 minutes. You have Cena versus The Rock at 28. Those are the matches that are 30 minutes or more. These aren't the matches that are 29 and 22 less. Which, by the way, 29-22, Triple H versus Undertaker at 27. Again, one of the greatest. So you're going to tell me there's a 6-minute difference here, and everyone's saying should have been 10 to 15 minutes less? That the length of it was the problem? I don't think that's the case. I think, like you said, Kevlar, I felt drawn into it, and I felt like the passion and the grit that was on display here was the story, and that if you had it too short, you're shy of that moment of grit. The other thing that I think people take away from is that after the 10 count, Edge drops to his knees and just starts crying. Right as he starts crying, they cut the camera off. So if you're watching and you're paying attention, here was a dude who was literally taken to his limit and went too far. You know what I mean? And here's a guy who's coming back to prove how together he is and still gets broken at the end by how far he had to go to prove his point. You know what I mean? Like, he put it all out there. And for you to tell me that 10 minutes less he still would have put it all out there, I don't know. You know?
Well, I get that. And the only reason I say is I felt like it might have been a little bit long is, like I said, is I had that pause in it and it felt perfect. It's not negative. It's just, to me, like, I can't say I watched the entire match and it felt great. I watched some of it. And then when I went back and watched it with commentary, I watched it with commentary, but I didn't watch the entire match either. I was like, oh, yeah, this is, like, it. That's the only reason I could say it. But I heard people, like what you said, where they felt it could have been 10, 15 minutes shorter. And the only thing I could think of was what I heard was commentary. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I think commentary pulled away from it. I also think that, hey, this was not the type of match that these people generally like right now. This was not a video game match. This was a fucking brawl. The one thing I thought was missing, that I thought would have pushed us over the edge and no one would have said shit about it anymore, is if there was been blood.
Oh, that's right. You were expecting blood.
I was expecting at least Hollywood blood. If they had Hollywood blood, with, like, if they'd cut away and cut back, because they can do it in a fraction of a second, you wouldn't even notice, and they came back and Randy Orton's head was, like, split open. Maybe not split open, maybe there's just some blood coming out, and whether it's Hollywood or not, if it's there, it's there. You know what I mean? They did it with Undertaker and it looked great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how people can not talk about this being one of the greatest matches that's ever been on WrestleMania when you know the whole story. But they say it's 10 minutes too long, but they say that they tell Adam Cole to fight forever, and I just don't see where you're coming from, man.
Yeah, there's so much more. I mean, when I think about producer here, when I think about the lead up with Beth getting RKO'd and
Yeah, Beth getting that RKO.
like, it's so personal.
It's personal, and if you just have this look like a wrestling match, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, for Edge to get up at 9 and then collapse again, and for letting the match still go, I thought that moment in and of itself was great.
I was happy there wasn't blood in it. For some reason, like, I tried to think of spots where I would have wanted this, or like where blood would have wanted to, like, could have been there. And I think, if anything, it was more impactful because there wasn't blood.
Yeah, I just
Maybe
think
it's just
that
because I watched so much deathmatch wrestling where blood is, like, it's kind of expected. Like, I was expecting or waiting for blood. You know?
Yeah, I think that because it was such a brutal personal fight, I think if they both got a little blood and ended the match both just with each other's blood on them and stuff, that they're, you know, it could have been a more impactful moment. But I do think that the moment was there, and I think that the only reason people said it took too long is I think there wasn't that visual spectacle.
I think if you were gonna add blood to it, you needed to add, like, a lot of blood, like, and I mean through it. Like, if I were gonna think of it that way, because to me, if I think of, like, having that little bit of blood at the end, I would have maybe been upset by it because it would have been corny and would have pulled me out of it again.
Oh, that could be.
If you had blood in the last, like, segments where they're on the top of the truck and they're bleeding, yeah, like, when I think of blood and brutality and, like, where it tells a compelling component to the story, there's blood through it. Like, I think of the Cody Dustin match, or I think of Eddie JBL.
Yeah.
That was way too much blood.
Yeah.
But it was throughout it. Or I think of, like, these moments where someone's bleeding and you're like, whoa, because then it adds to that brutality. And in a sense, you're watching it, waiting for it to be a part of it, because this person's really bleeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe if they had done it on the truck, if they'd used one of those windows or something and caught a little blood there, that'd have been good. Even if it wasn't necessarily
Or-
the head. If one person caught it on the head, one person caught it on their arm or something, like that could have been cool too. I mean, I'm not saying they needed to bleed, but that's the only thing I could think of that made me think that, like, what could have made it better, what could have made it different, and what would I have done different? I would have left it the same otherwise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If I were going to add blood, I could think of one way at the end, and it would have been, and actually is a Randy Orton spot, when Randy got blood the hard way from Brock Lesnar, and that was frightening.
Yeah.
I don't want him to get blood the hard way, but have something replicate that, because you can cut cameras and maybe have Edge have deliberate elbows like that or looking like that, and you can cut around, and then you're seeing it appear.
Yeah.
And then the concerto, because the blood's there already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That might do it, because I think having the shot of Randy there and there's blood on the chair, and another thing, maybe it's me because I know the concerto's, it's a really safe move.
Yeah.
Because he's done it forever. Having that at the end, I would have just been taken away from it.
Yeah. What do you think, Kevlar?
I don't know. I think blood could have helped out with it just to get the effect and feel, because I was watching a highlight of a UFC match, and each guy was hitting each other, giving it their all, and once one of them started leaking, all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, he's hurt or injured.
Yeah.
So I could see ways of it, maybe not like you said, like too much.
Yeah.
But a little bit could have helped, and
Yeah. I think that otherwise I'm okay with it. I don't think it needed 10 minutes less. I think 10 minutes less wouldn't have made the point that they were making, and I think that this maybe just was a little too old school for a lot of the current audience.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Apart from that, I mean, to me, I think that was one of the big takeaways from WrestleMania was that match. A lot of the stuff was good, though. I mean, Cesaro versus Drew Gulak, definitely not bad.
Yeah. It's crazy. Cesaro's crazy.
Cesaro's insane. He's just so strong. I think Gulak, if Daniel Bryan's actually towards the end of his career, Gulak could definitely take that place.
I think Gulak and Bryan need to be a tag team.
Hell yeah.
Like, I look at them, they feel like a tag team, they look like a tag team, they're doing the yes movement in sync, and they need to run with it as a tag team.
I agree.
Well, Bella's having another baby, so.
Oh yeah, Total Bellas have been insane.
Well, no, I'm just thinking his career-wise, he's probably focused on his kids,
For sure.
family.
What else did you think?
What was from the first night? What did you guys not like?
What I did not like in night one? Actually, night one was a little harder to say that about because I thought so much of it was solid. I thought, what the fuck are you going to do for night two? But if I had to pick one specifically, I'd say Strowman and Goldberg didn't matter to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think ordering. I think Becky Shayna should have gone on later.
Yeah.
we agreed on
I think, and I like the women's tag match, or earlier, have Becky Shayna lead it, because and this isn't to knock the match, this isn't to knock the position. I have seen a lot of people say that they felt where Becky and Shayna was like a mid-card spot in WrestleMania. It was not a mid-card match, and I'm not saying Becky or Shayna are mid-card people, but I can understand what they're saying. The opening of a match, or the opening of WrestleMania, or the end of it. And in this case, the end of the night toward it makes more sense to me than in the middle where it was, because it felt a bit weirdly placed. That's my view of it.
Keep going.
Also, I mean, arguably the heavyweight match was in a spot it could have been earlier.
Keep going. He's in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's I think what it would maybe that would be a thing I think is weak, is the placement, the order of it. I think Becky and Shayna was a great match, weakened by its position in the card. I think it could have been placed a lot stronger. I also, if I had to say one I wasn't a huge fan of, I wasn't the biggest fan of. I felt the Elias match was long. I felt the Elias match could have been a little bit shorter. What do you think, Kevin?
I agree with that to a degree because to me there just wasn't enough build-up between Elias and level to the match, and but it was all right. I think my biggest thing I didn't like from day one, and it probably had to do with the order of things like you were saying, is I really did not like the women's tag match. And I think it's because I like the match in general, but I just did not like that it led off, and all you heard throughout the entire match was Asuka and Kairi yelling. And I thought to myself, like, this is the way WrestleMania is going to be for 2 nights. This is going to be fucking shit. And just hearing them yell, constantly, I was like, I was getting annoyed with it. And, like I said, it almost drew me out of WrestleMania altogether. Because I was thinking, this is the way the whole thing's going to be.
I felt that partly was because of Alexa and Nikki. I really feel like Alexa, more than anyone, is not familiar with how to work in front of a no crowd. So she kept doing stuff and working the crowd and doing stuff that would work a crowd, but there's no crowd there, where Kari and Asuka are yelling and screaming because they're trying to get the shit talk going, because in an empty arena with no noise, you make the noise. And they didn't respond in kind, and it did fall kind of flat in that respect. I thought the pacing was otherwise fine, but yeah.
What do you think?
With, like I said, just the yelling drew me away from a lot of it. And I think with this, if you're in an empty arena and you're performing at a VFW or, whatever, the few people that are there, yes, you need to get them involved. So you do the yelling, you do the screaming, you do all that. But when it's being taped and it's aired, you don't need to do that. And I think it was weird from WWE to put that match on first instead of later, because, like I said, going into it, I thought that if this is the way the entire WrestleMania is going to be, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah, they probably yelled a little louder than they needed to, but definitely the idea of them talking in the ring and shit talking, I've been liking. But
that's fine. I like that. I like the shit talking. I like it. But they were just screaming, and it's like, all right, just tone it down just a bit.
Yeah. What if, and to me, like, to answer this point, because we're different and maybe a way to draw people in and get people excited, let's open it with Braun Goldberg. That is your first match. We always hear it's a good lead off, and last year we led off with the WWE Championship as the first match on the WrestleMania. So let's do the other big belt as the lead off match. Big different thing. And then after it, or you can have Elias, and then the next, belt match in the spot where Becky and Shayna was, you then put in that spot the women's tag match. And then where the Braun match was, have that be the one that leads into the Taker match. I think that would have been a way better pacing for me. And then that way, to Kevin's point, that spot in the yelling and that part that kind of maybe pulls you out, that can be in the middle. You're already built in, you're already excited, you're okay with everything. It's in the middle.
Yeah, you're settled.
And it is a big match. And then we end with that women's one, because it felt really, to me, it really felt weird, the placement of it. I think, to me, a lot of people have said that they feel Becky's moved down the card. I've heard people say that they feel like the company's lost faith in Becky by the placement. I don't agree with them losing faith, but I do agree the placement is weird. And it just bugged me.
I think Becky should have led off. I think the women's title should have led off the pay-per-view. Because I didn't like last year when, Seth and Brock led off, because, it was 5-minute squash match, and you want like when you're making a movie, you want a big thing to happen at the very beginning to draw people in.
Yeah.
And I think if you put Becky and Shayna at the very beginning, you know, everyone's entertained, everyone's drawn in, you know, okay, let's go from there. Where if you would have put, you know, Braun and Goldberg, you know, almost like last year, I think, you know, it's like, all right, you know, this is what we're expecting the rest of the night.
Yeah, but because there was so little build to Braun and Goldberg and there's no story there, you could have thrown it in the beginning to say, hey, important shit is going to happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really put a stamp on it saying, like, this is not a nothing WrestleMania. This is a WrestleMania, and this was a WrestleMania moment, and Braun Strowman just won the goddamn Universal title in front of the world. You know what I mean? Like, you really throw that on there, where later on you can have a match like Becky and Shayna that you get excited for, because out of all these matches on the card, that was one of the ones with the better hype. I was personally more excited for it. So having that later on in the card leading into Undertaker and AJ would have been cool. I felt going into Undertaker and AJ was flat. I felt like watching Braun 1, I was like, okay. And then we started the Undertaker match, and I feel like that they had to come out from under. They did, but they had to. So
Yeah.
I could agree with moving that somewhere else. I don't think the company's lost any faith in Becky, to be honest.
I don't either. I feel like I could see people's argument. Mainly, to me, it's like I think people always look into some argument for some bullshit thing. It's dirt sheet logic.
Yeah.
But I could understand where the dirt sheet logic came from by the placement. The placement was just fucking weird to me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that people just try and read in on things and try and, you know, get the upper hand when you're on the outside looking in. And I think that's one of the things, like, hey, WWE lost faith in Becky. Look, you know, at her placement in the match. And I think a lot of it's, I think, BS. I think, you know, like I said, you lead off with something great and then go from there. And that was my one complaint about WrestleMania this year was their lead-off match.
Yeah, their lead-off wasn't great. But I also felt like, I mean, I guess if you put it in the middle, it gets lost in the shuffle and you don't think about it. But I do feel like it highlighted some of their weaknesses there and not their strengths. I do think it's cool having Alexa and Nikki win it. I just really hate Nikki's character with Alexa.
Just the sidekick, the Robin to Batman thing.
Yeah, the best friend. Here comes Alexa Bliss, one half of the Women's Tag Team Championship, and it looks like she's brought her best friend with her, the other half of the Women's Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
Like, what? When has that ever happened and been okay before? I need Crazy Nikki back. I need Crazy Nikki back so fucking bad.
She was a badass.
I need the Twisted Sister.
I think what they need to do is they need to bring Crazy Nikki back to the point where it almost like
Were they what?
You know, where Alexa was like, what's up?
Where they bring back Crazy Nikki for what?
And it almost scares Alexa.
Yes.
Where Alexa's back from it and like, oh shit, like, you know, but I don't know. I'm glad that Alexa and Nikki won it because the Kabuki Warriors, you know, to me, I think they took a step back with the women's titles, with them having on it, you know, because they've been showcasing Asuka as a solo competitor.
Yes, but for the record, I don't think that was the Kabuki Warriors' decision. I think that was the booking that happened. But I do agree that for whatever reason, when they put the title on Alexa and Nikki, it seems to be they focus more on that tag team division. Which is also crazy because when you think about the Kabuki Warriors, that's my favorite version of both of them right now.
Yep.
Asuka and Kairi Sane together as the Kabuki Warriors is my favorite Kairi Sane I've ever had and my favorite Asuka. They're both fucking lunatics in their own way. Fucking the Green Mist from time to time, which I don't know why it hasn't come back in a bit, but the Green Mist.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. The lack of pirate bullshit with Kairi Sane, I find myself excited to watch them, excited to see them win, excited to see them lose. Like, I think they're compelling characters together as a tag team. The fact they won't just let them be a tag team and solidify that the women's tag team division is a legitimate division and not something you piece together before every pay-per-view.
But to be fair, these circumstances, they re-pieced this WrestleMania in 2 weeks, so.
Yeah, but we're saying that prior to that, when Kabuki Warriors had it, it's been months since they defended it, and then with Alexa and Nikki, it was all the time.
She was injured. Kairi was injured for a while.
because they finally put together a tag match, but it had been months before then. Like, with Alexa and Nikki, they seem to give some more care to the women's tag division, much closer to what it was like when they gave that to the Boston Hug Connection. That was the other time where you really felt like they gave the tag team division some thought.
Well, and that's exactly what I think is that, when Bailey and Sasha had it, obviously that's been the top. They haven't gotten anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
But then they strap it on the Iconics, and it, immediately took a nosedive. And then, I think, wasn't it Nikki and Alexa that kind of helped bring it back? I don't know if anyone else held it, in between there. But then the Kabuki Warriors get it, and it felt like, they were going to do something with it. And I'm sure Kyrie's injury had a lot to do with it. But then, was it 3-4 months in a row, it was just Asuka by herself in the main event.
Yeah.
And, so then putting it back on Nikki and Alexa, I'm just hoping, that they bring it up again, and, like I said, it's probably not going to be anywhere close to Sasha and Bailey, but, if they go to NXT and defend it, if they go to, SmackDown and Raws and, jump around shows like it's supposed to be, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. I remember feeling when the Kabuki Warriors won it, oh, here we go. We're off to the races. We got some legit tag team shit about to go down. And then it was all like, and now Asuka and Becky have beef. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Why
Unfinished
now?
business out of nowhere. Yeah.
Why right now?
It felt like there was absolutely no reason to do that. Like, other than we don't have enough people in the division that are single stars. We've, established Asuka's as dominant monster. Yeah, it'd be great to see Asuka and Becky, and I agree. But you can't do that while you're also having Asuka try and build up someone else, like Kari's saying.
Yeah.
You don't separate Alexa and Nikki. You need to build up Nikki now, but you don't, have Alexa then stop being part of this to go fight Bailey for a title, and have Nikki not present at all or not be part of this. It's a weird thing,
Yeah.
I hopefully what happens now is they develop Nikki more, because the most tiring part of this is the Nikki character. It's
crazy, right? Like, you wouldn't think that her one character aspect alone would make all the difference, but I feel like it truly does. I feel like that Nikki brings down the tag.
Whenever Nikki comes out with Alexa, or Nikki and Alexa come out as a match, and my producer's watching it with me, they're perplexed at Nikki's presence.
Yeah.
They like Alexa. They really like Alexa, and the name thing. But they are really kind of like, there's a like, what is this with Nikki? Like, I agree with it,
Yeah. 100%. It's so weird. Yeah. You almost feel like something's wrong with her. It's not like something's wrong with her, she's crazy. It's something's wrong with her, she's deficient.
We have William Regal and Eugene coming out.
Yes.
Like something's off, but she's not. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we've made the Nikki character, and they've dumbed down to its most, what could be perceived as most essential function, which is that she's off. Not that she's crazy, strong, and like psychopath. That she's, and I hate to say special.
Yeah. It's how she comes off.
But it feels like, and it kind of, as I think about it, kind of feels insulting. It feels like, it feels like Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
Mm-hmm.
But the most basic part of it is that, like, well, special needs guy and is quick with a friend. Yeah, but there is a level of care there, but there was more to the character. It feels innocent, whereas the other character felt deranged, but in a good way,
Yeah, no, she feels like something's wrong here. You're I would say man child, but not a man, woman child. Like, you're coming off like a fucking baby. It's weird.
We're gonna do this.
I was just gonna say it literally just makes her almost look stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe not as far as special needs, but It just makes her look dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
Childish. At best, childish.
That said, if they were going to do an Of Mice of Men female tag team, I would love to see Nia Jax be Lenny. Or be
Nia
Lenny
and Nikki would make
and
a
have
really good
rabbits.
team in
Yeah.
that regard, for sure. Yeah. I'll play with you, Nia.
Yeah, and they both accidentally hurt, people.
Yeah. That's just my friend. My friend I pet my friend because it's my friend. Oh my God, you hurt Nikki. I'm okay, Nia.
No, Nia, no. Nia, just pet the rabbits. Oh,
Nia, put her down. Put her down.
Nia just gave the rabbit a concussion. Nia, I'm sorry, Alexa. We gonna live off the fat of the land.
Hell yeah. That's how it feels. I'm really excited Sami Zayn held on to the title. I'm really excited Becky Lynch held on to the title. I'm happy for a lot of the retention that happened here.
Yeah, and I went back and made a highlight of what we said 2 weeks ago. You see that?
Of our predictions?
Yeah, I posted it.
Didn't see it. Was I right for most of it?
There were some things that we were right on and wrong on. I thought you would see it. Never mind.
This was a really good part of the conversation.
Forget it. No, I thought you'd seen it. I thought you retweeted it.
Maybe I retweeted. I retweet everything you say. Don't look at it.
What the hell?
Yeah, he doesn't like contact.
Yeah,
Actually, no. You guys are right in that you specifically had said you wanted to see something that we've never seen before. You wanted to see something cinematic. I was like, oh, they heard us.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Hire us.
Yeah. Vince, if you're watching, and I know you're watching, Vince, you're always watching.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Uncle Vinny.
Yeah, Uncle Vinny. But let's see. I even thought the Becky Lynch and Shayna match was a really good match. It was solid. What do you guys think about Becky sneaking the win? I thought that was super smart.
Yeah, I thought that worked for. That needed to be a spot where Becky was resourceful, not dominant, because we need strong performers in this division, and I don't want Shayna to be deflated. Shayna's a beast. Shayna's a 2-time NXT Women's Champion, and Shayna's a dominant-ass champion. I didn't want to see Becky just powerhouse and roll through her right now at her opening. Mm-hmm. I think what happened to Shayna would have been a cool way for what happened to Asuka to have happened with Charlotte. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Charlotte should have snuck that win, not won outright.
Not just had a fucking this is me slowly getting into my finish as I do, and it's gonna be just fine.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was good, and I also liked that Becky looked like she was scrambling the whole fucking time. She looked like someone who stole her win without having to cheat. Like she just got the better of. She just found a spot and took it. Where I think that some of these other wins always come off a little bit more shady than that. So I was really happy with that. What do you like? I think what's good about that win is that Shayna can now go through the division proper and teach the audience that she is someone to fear and not someone we're just told to fear. She can come out much stronger at the end of this. What do you think would have happened if they had strapped the title on Shayna? I think you have less places to go with that. I think Becky needs to hold on to it.
TP poker.
Yeah.
I was late on my claps.
Come on, guys. You're way off here.
Sorry, Marsh.
I think they needed to keep the belt on Becky.
He's here.
Because
I'm just not coming to my chat.
He says, I adore Alexa Bliss. When Nia Jax urinates, pure gravy comes out. Oh my god.
I'm glad we read that
I
out
was
loud. That went
crying
great.
laughing
God
at that.
damn it, TP Poker. First off, I'm glad you know that. Secondly, some things you got to keep to yourself, pal.
That's where Golden Corral gets the gravy.
Yeah. He's like, she works at a food kitchen out here.
Sorry.
Donates her time.
Sorry, shouldn't have read that out.
In these trying times, we're never short on gravy. Just saying.
That's a good point.
It's not coming from us. It's from a viewer.
What's nice is that with gravy, you don't need toilet paper the same way.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This isn't going
Biscuits.
well.
I'm out of toilet paper, but thank God I got biscuits.
Oh my god.
All right,
Got Mars.
what's gonna happen? Naya's gonna block us? Oh no! Please don't block me, Naya. Actually, Naya, if you're watching, stop watching, bitch.
Stop.
What?
Stop.
No. I got heat with Sean
We want her
Spears. I
to
got
give us
heat
some
with
bits.
Naya. What was that? What was that, Kevlar?
Yeah. I said Naya needs to give us some more bits.
Mm.
Anyway.
When I bits, you bits, we bits. TV Poker, let us know what you thought of Mania. We're breaking it down a little bit. I don't know if we're going to break down a lot more of it. I felt like, okay, so let's do this. What do you felt like was,
What you felt like.
yeah, what do you felt like? What did you felt like?
How for English?
Suffered by not having a crowd specifically. I would say night one, first thing that comes to mind is the ladder match. I was really surprised at how much I felt the ladder match needed a crowd. And I think it's because you have all those moments with the crowd going, whoa! Like, and I feel that when you do these crazy intense bumps, and the only thing you hear in your house is you going like, Jesus! But not a crowd, you're like, oh, why did they do that?
You become more and more aware. Wow, they're really shitty climbing ladders, and boy, these ladders are rickety as fuck.
Yeah.
Like I watched it and I was like, I have significantly better ladders than you. Why do you not have ladders that are improved?
Well, first off, you've
felt
never
weird.
put one of your ladders in a ring.
My ladders can hold more weight than theirs can, probably.
In a ring is different, Plump. Those
I don't-
things are
I put-
rickety
I-
to move.
I put my ladders on uneven shit all the time.
It's not just uneven.
It's wiggly. I know.
They can be
My
wiggly.
backyard is like a giant airbag covered with topsoil.
I'm trying to think. I was never on ring crew when I worked for the roadie company that when we did WWE. I was always on like the crates and stuff. Like I moved all the stuff in, but I never worked on the ring. I don't know if they have one of the rings that has a spring in the middle. I think they do. But I know that like a lot of the rings that local companies don't have a ring in the middle, but there's not much in the middle, so it still has like a give in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I do know that like their rings are probably pretty even because of the cushioning they use, but it could very well be a little more bouncy than you think.
Oh yeah. No, I know it's not easy, but you like that's when I watched it, I'm like aware, like, oh, you're aware of like weird things you're not. So you need the crowd there
Yeah.
for that. I feel that that Gronk needed a crowd
Yes.
because Gronk was bringing a party to fuck all.
Yeah. I agree with that entirely. I feel that if for whatever reason he had got the crowd riled up, I would have thought, oh, Gronk's fucking crazy and charming. But watching him by himself just like drink alone effectively, I was all like, what is he doing, man?
Gronk doesn't have it together. Like
Yeah.
it felt very sad when you put it that way. Like you could play minor key music and have Gronk alone partying, drinking, and like then it cuts to an E True Hollywood like logo. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That's what it felt like to me. What do you think? What do you think, Kevlar? What do you think suffered by not having a crowd?
I think both of those points are really valid. You know, like the ladder match, you know, the crowd, you know, interaction, you know, the chants that they normally do during those. Gronk, I like Gronk. I love Gronk. U of A boy.
Yep.
But
Do you watch Masked Singer by any chance, Kevlar?
yes, I do. And yes, I saw him on there.
Yo, we watch every week, dude. Do you watch it every week?
We're normally a day or two behind, but yeah, we watch it.
All right, dude. We got some gossip to keep up on now. We just started season 1, but we're keeping up with current season as well, so we're double dipping.
Yep.
You guys are
We only watch the
profoundly
current
normal in this
season.
moment.
We haven't seen any of the other seasons. But I will say, you know, if you go into my tweet history, that's not many, I did call Tom Bergeron on day 1 when he first went out there.
No way.
Yeah, 100%. We were in Disneyland. I went, took a shower, and I was walking out, or, you know, they were watching it. My family was watching it. I took a shower. I came back, and I was like, it's Tom Bergeron. And everyone, I turned around, and everyone's asleep, so I tweeted it. Like one of my few tweets.
Really? It's Tom?
Yeah.
How did you, first off, how did you know his name?
Because Dondo used to be a huge fan of his America's Funniest Home Videos, and when they switched to Carlton, he was pissed.
Oh.
Yeah, so we would watch, you know, the old AFV with Tom Bergeron, and for whatever reason, as soon
We
as I heard
talked
him
about
talk,
the
I
Masked
was
Singer. I
like,
took a break.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go pee? But, yeah, as soon as he was talking, or started singing, rather,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's Tom.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Welcome, Matt Brown.
Yeah, I'm around and I'm always watching. I'm always lurking about and people know.
Now he's gonna leave.
He's not going to leave. But now that I know that Katie loves Masked Singer, we got a lot more to talk about.
Damn it. I mean, all right.
Now, we're going to have to go over to Matt Brown's house and watch Masked Singer.
No, because
What?
we're social distancing.
All social distance the other side of the couch.
No.
He's got a 6-foot couch. He's got to.
No.
Fine.
Social distancing. But
social.
we'll watch at the same time.
That's funny that you heard it goes, oh, that's Tom Bergeron. Because we kept naming all these random people and thinking stuff. I was like, I don't know. And then when he saw his face, I was all like, huh? And the guy goes, Tom Bergeron. I went, wait, what? And I was like, wait, isn't that the America's Funniest Home Video guy? Like, I just did not know. So I think it's funny that you nailed that one.
Yeah.
Gronk I nailed immediately. I actually did. When the White Tiger came out and did the first song, I went, well, that's Gronk.
Yeah.
Alright, so this has been
But-
good discussion.
This is good. This is good stuff. We're covering good ground.
Are we?
Trying to broaden our horizon.
Yeah, when I grunk, you grunk, we grunk. Clump left again. What a piece of shit.
He's right there. I see him.
Really? Is my feed that far behind?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. He's
Yeah.
back.
He's back? All right, Clump.
No, I got a chocolate more.
All right. Well, you're still a piece of shit.
Good.
But, yeah, so back to what you were saying. Big fan of Gronk, fan of the White Tiger. We're definitely going to watch Masked Singer and talk about it more.
But we're still on a WrestleMania review.
Oh, we're talking about wrestling.
Oh!
No.
Shit!
This is news to me. I was taking notes.
I didn't know we had a masked singing podcast that I was a guest on.
Kevin's like, I didn't even tell you what I thought about the
goddamn
banana yet.
worst show ever.
Yeah.
Alright.
I thought this was Matt singing on the rocks.
Yeah, Masked Singer on the rocks. And Kevlar's all like, I didn't even told you about the banana. I was going to tell you all about the banana.
Yeah, hold on.
I watch wrestling to not watch things my wife watches because I know she watches Masked Singer.
This is good news. We have a new group chat to have.
Yeah,
She just got pissed at me from the other side of the house hearing it, that I made fun of it.
Yeah. No, this is
I
great
know.
news. We have
Well,
a
this is
new
your
group
segment.
chat
You
about
need
to
to
happen.
tag her in.
Yeah. Yeah, now actually the producer should be sitting where you're sitting. We're going to talk Masked Singer for the next 45 minutes or so.
Hey, Alexa,
then you
come
can
on and take
back.
over for me. You're going to talk about Masked Singer with them. Put some fucking pants on. Come on.
Then we can get to Raw.
This is great news. We have the best group chat about to happen.
Don't.
So you said you love Gronk, but you didn't like that you didn't have a crowd?
I'm kidding.
Oh, she comes in and just steamrolls you out? See? Did you know the taco was Tom Bergeron? Yes or no?
Did you know that Taco was Tom Bergeron?
Oh my god.
I don't know shit about what we're talking about.
Clump's
I
getting
don't. I don't know these things.
Hold on.
This is good stuff. This
Do
is
you
good
want?
stuff.
Do you want to put clothes on and just hang out?
I have clothes on.
We're getting people in. Sorry, normal viewers.
This show's definitely not falling apart. That's for sure. That's the one thing I know. The show's still
Let's get to
keeping
WrestleMania
together.
night 2.
Well, hold on. We didn't talk about the Boneyard match, you fuck.
Fuck.
Let's go, Boneyard. Claps on point. I don't have like a bone over here.
Good. Stop throwing things.
I legit almost just fell.
I think John Cena was here because you can't see.
Did anybody watch this? Or you guys are acting like you haven't seen it, haven't heard of it?
Oh yeah, I saw the Boneyard match.
Such a
I'm back on here. I love you. Bye.
So yeah, so then I mean, as far as things that that suffered without having it, night one, things that I think did better without having the audience, I think for one is the Boneyard match. You could not have done that in an arena with 100,000 people and had it go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody would have watched this extended segment and been like happy. It was great.
That said about.
Okay.
Because you can't see it right now. Just-
I know. I knew that bit, but I didn't think what else to do next. I was kind of stuck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's space.
Yeah. Good.
I thought this was a masterpiece in its own right. I did think they had to come up from below because I felt like that Goldberg Braun was pretty shitty. Did not give a crap about it, nor was it exciting to watch or good to see. So then when it started with The Undertaker coming in, and AJ comes out of the casket, starts laughing, I thought that was kind of clever. Then you hear the motorcycle and you're like, oh shit, and you're hearing Metallica. I know there's a lot of back and forth. Was it American Badass or was it not?
Clump called that, by the way. In the prediction, he's like, oh man, if he comes out like in Triple H's chopper, I was like, oh shit! Clump called it.
Oh yeah, Clump said he's going to come out in a chopper. Nice.
A broken clock's right occasionally.
Yeah. Every now
Twice
and
a
then,
day.
Clump walks ass backwards right into everything he needs.
Yeah.
Um,
All of my successes come out of half-ass failures from other ideas.
hell yeah. But I mean, they'd never called him American Badass, but during the beatdown, he was saying, you think you're a badass, you say you're a badass, this and that. I don't know that I cared by the end of it. I was just excited by all of it, I think.
Mm.
What'd you think of it, Kevlar?
I mean, I loved it. The whole, I know a lot of people complained about how cinematic it was, but I thought it was great. He didn't look winded like he has in all his other previous matches. And, I think it was, all just done well. And, I have really no complaints about it, except for he didn't come out to American Badass.
The only thing I thought was really weird was the Druids. I thought I could have done without the Druids. They were all one-punch Goombas, and they disappeared forever. So I don't think they added much other than a moment of, is Undertaker about to get overwhelmed? But I felt like the club is badass enough they could have gotten away with that feeling anyways. But
I feel like... Good.
but I did feel that overall I was really happy with it being cinematic. I thought it was a really great portrayal of The Undertaker in a way we haven't seen in a long time. And I felt like this is the way that we figure out how do you protect The Undertaker's legacy in a way where he looks immortal and badass forever, but he doesn't have to come off as an old man or winded. You get to protect the legend of Undertaker, not just like a series of great matches, but a character that went beyond just great matches and was ultimately incredible psychology. I'd like to see this may be his last match. It really could be. I think that's an honest thing we need to consider. But I'd like to see one or two more video type style matches with him and let those be the end of The Undertaker,
Well, yeah, but I don't think Undertaker can go out with a win. Even though I do think it was weird that his, the new documentary on the network or whatever was like, oh, Undertaker's last ride, all right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, is this it or not? Or,
Well, that's the crazy bit too. Is it takes place from 2017 to 2020. That's a 3-year-long documentary miniseries we're about to see about the Undertaker, called His Last Ride. I wonder if we find out that 2017 against Roman was meant to be his last thing. I bet you that's what.
I think everyone thought that was supposed to be it, but I think the consensus is that everyone hated it, and they're like, no, he can't lose to Roman, he can't use to Roman, and then they brought him back.
I think that's what we're going to find out. What brought him back? Was it really that, hey, this Roman thing didn't really button it up the way we would have liked? And I think that this shows that you can do this in a way where you can protect the man and protect the character. You know what I mean? You can highlight the character but protect the man. I'd like to see him finally lose to Bray Wyatt in some kind of Boneyard Firefly Funhouse mixture. You know? I'd like to see that perhaps if we've already broken down that fourth wall of Mark Calloway versus The Undertaker, I'd like to see Bray get into The Undertaker and then in like a Firefly Funhouse type match break past The Undertaker and say, you're not scary anymore. You know what I mean? And really get to the point of like, get The Undertaker to see fear and give up or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and in that mini series, he did say his real fear is being a parody of himself.
Yeah.
Which is ironic when you consider some other
I think.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's it.
Yeah, Clump.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clump.
What I was gonna say is I feel like connecting. I kind of connected the Undertaker match to the Bray match and the idea of parody, because I felt like AJ's big offense and like everything AJ tried to do, like to go after Undertaker, was a parody of what the Undertaker is, and Undertaker overcame it all.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm going to show you what my legacy really is. And I feel like John Cena versus The Fiend, as we'll get into, was the opposite, where it was a person or The Fiend winning by showing that maybe the real you is this, and we all are focusing on the parody that you put up of what you really are.
Yeah.
Maybe what Undertaker's final match could be is a similar thing, or like a continuation of that idea, where it's The Fiend really showing everyone what the Undertaker is, and Undertaker tries to fight it but can't overcome it. Like, I think I'd like to see like this mixed media or this like cinematic style of match where that occurs, and like I'd even like to go as far as to have this idea continue on, because I think it's a great story arc.
Yeah, that would terrify me though. The idea of breaking down the Undertaker character to becoming silly to a degree. Because we can get into it in just a second, or we'll get back to it. We'll table that, but the idea of breaking down the Undertaker's character the way they broke down John Cena's character, that would be big and rough to handle, and then also accept Fiend as your new overlord. You know what I mean? As far as
I want to get back into it in a minute.
Yeah, as soon as we get to, we're going to talk about Undertaker while we talk about Bray Wyatt. Night 2, did you find it to be better or worse than Night 1? What was your favorite night?
I think Night 1 was by far better.
I unfortunately agree.
Yeah, Night 2 was kind of let me down for the most part.
There was a lot in Night 2 I could have done without.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I feel like they put it into Night 1 because like they put more belts in Night 1 because they kind of wanted it to feel bigger, like for a reason. You know, like, yeah, you got to come back because we did all this.
Yeah.
I felt.
But you want the. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but at Night 2, you want the grand finale, the payoff, the wrestling year chapter or book to be over, and I don't feel like you got that at the end of Night 2.
Oh, absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. I also feel Order was a big part of this too. Like, I feel Order really impeded this. I feel like Drew McIntyre ending the night was not a good call. I think it should have opened it.
I understand why they did that. They thought that was a pretty big moment. I think that we don't give a shit about Drew McIntyre.
I like Drew.
All right,
I want to like them.
end the call.
But see,
Swipe him out.
I'm not sure.
Have you been keeping up with this story, Kevlar?
Do what?
Have you been keeping up with the story of Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, somewhat.
What do you think about the Drew McIntyre character?
I think it's weird because to me they jumped. Whoa, what was that?
That was me putting a audio track over your opinions of Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's weird because with Drew's character, they jumped around a lot.
Stop it.
Stop.
So, following Drew and stuff like that, they've jumped around a lot where, he's a badass and they take him back and he's a badass and stuff like this. I think this was supposed to be the culmination of a lot, the whole Rumble win and him being like, all right, I'm here, I'm serious now. But I think this is one of the big moments that missed because there was no crowd.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it definitely messed without a crowd, but I also think that the way that they portrayed his character, for me personally, made me not give a shit about it. So even if they had done it where it felt like, hey, there's this big win for him, he overcame Brock Lesnar against all odds, this and that, what a badass, what a tough guy. At the end, his win meant nothing to me because he comes off as such an entitled, unaware shitbag.
Mm-hmm.
Even his chronicle. They did this whole chronicle where they interview him, and he's even talking about how he always came from the absolute bottom and always had to work his way up to the top. And at one point, his wife even says, well, they gave you a lot, and everyone pretty much always just said you'd be great. And he goes, well, yeah. And she's like, and it wasn't until you actually applied yourself that you found that these things could come to be. Like, that you were just given everything over and over again. And then at some point, you go, why do I keep failing? And it wasn't until you just said, oh, I need to also work for this, that it actually anything ever happened. And so he just came off so self-important in this whole woe is me way, where it's oh, nothing works good for Drew, and oh, it wouldn't be a Drew story if it didn't come with these fucking crazy times, and oh, it would, of course it's going to be an empty building because it's me. And it's I'm sorry, dude, I'm sorry that for your whole fucking life every fucking person has always told you you're full of potential, you have star power, you've got absolutely everything it takes to be there, except for your fucking own self getting you there. And now you want to cry about it.
What is it with entitled assholes in doing it? I like Drake, but the Drake song is almost exactly like what you're describing there. The start from the bottom song, video, content, and everything. It's the same thing. Oh, cool, you're 6 foot. You're 6'6", you're 280 pounds. You're a talented athlete, but yeah, you started from the bottom.
Yeah, you were born with a perfect smile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go a long fucking way to begin with. So, fucking relax with this. This is the kind of... I found, an old... Facebook every now and then goes oh, this is what you said, fucking 6 years ago. They had some post that I put 6 years ago that was all hey, when every single person pretends hard work is any job, it really undermines the people out there doing actual hard work to get their job done. And this is what that feels like. Hey, dude, yeah, you finally had to apply yourself and go to the gym that you're paid to go to full time. Fucking relax, dude. You're not the fucking hero here. You don't come off, you don't represent me and my fan. You were a weird kid who loved wrestling and aliens. Okay. That doesn't mean you represent me and a fandom. You know what I mean?
A really more compelling story would be the story of redemption. You had this given to you. You fucked up. You fucked off. You had to restart, and you did.
And well, that's what they tried to do. That's what they tried to tell that story, that that's exactly what happened. Everything was given to him. Although he never quite saw it that way, but everything was given to him,
Yes.
and it was called Drew McIntyre's Road to Redemption, is what the Drew McIntyre Chronicle is called. And in there, it's all about how like he had it all just taken away. He was fired, but fucking 3 years later, he's back and on top. This is not
Take it away. No, I lost it.
That's time out, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like he had this huge thing to overcome. He was fired because he stopped giving a shit, because it was way too obvious and no one could overlook it anymore. So he leaves for a couple of years. He goes back to his hometown to be the top of the mountain there because, hey, you're former WWE star. Of course you're top of the mountain there. No one's going to tell former WWE trained that you're not the top of the card. So you work in this little promotion over there. You get it on the map. You work out like crazy. And now that you're fit again and applied, 3 years later, you're back in NXT and the champion? Relax, dude. You've got so much of the deck on your side. It's hard for me to root for you when you don't even acknowledge it. When you pretend you've been through the same shit as the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen any of that Chronicles or anything like that. And I do think, like Mom said, they need to do, hey, this is redemption, and stuff like that. But I think they did it too late.
Yes.
It feels like they really only started doing it like a couple weeks ago. It was like, oh, you got fired, you got this. I think this part should have come before Rumble.
Yeah.
Arguably in NXT they were talking that story too, but you're right. I think also that his fucking goofiness in the ring, this whole like, oh, this is just me, this is who I am, I do the countdown, I make jokes, I'm funny. You're also not a funny guy, but that's also okay. There's really nice guys who aren't that funny. You know what I mean? Like, his character doesn't connect with me at all.
Yeah.
So I don't give a shit that he beat Brock Lesnar. Matter of fact, I'm super kind of annoyed that he beat Brock Lesnar. Although, I'll ask you guys about this. I've read a lot about people saying that Brock Lesnar made Drew McIntyre look like $1 million. What do you guys think about that?
No.
I think it's weird. I think these type of squash championship matches, I talked to you earlier about it, where they remind me of heavyweight boxing matches where everyone's just looking for the knockout punch.
Yeah.
So everyone's just hitting the other person as hard as they can, and in wrestling using their finishers and signatures and stuff like that until they get the lucky one that actually puts the guy down.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't like it at all.
When you make every move the knockout move, because then we go back to like the lost importance of finishers, when every hit's that knockout hit. When Mike Tyson hitting uppercut after uppercut, and the fifth one finally puts the guy on his ass, Mike Tyson's uppercut sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what this feels like. Brock puts everyone over. I don't think he did special to put Drew over. I feel like when he finally loses, like when they say, yeah, Brock, you're going to lose the title, Brock, if anything, it's the time where he doesn't put anyone over. Because they've built up Brock so that these matches aren't compelling stories. They're, look, he's going to hit his finisher on you 5 times, you're going to kick out every time inexplicably, and then you're going to hit your finisher like 30 times or kick him in the dick or something and you're going to win.
Yeah.
And why is it putting someone over? I think he put people that he's beaten over better. Like when he beat Balor or Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles, those matches were super compelling matches, and they both looked good. And in the end, Brock won, but you thought, wow, is Finn going to get this? Is AJ going to get this? And you could see Brock selling and doing great.
Yeah.
This, I don't think Brock did anything special. He just took 5 hits.
That's exactly what I said at the end of the match, was no one's going to mark this down as one of the best Brock Lesnar matches. When people talk about Brock Lesnar matches, this will never come up. This will never come up under a best Drew McIntyre match. And if it does, what a horrible career he's had. This is going to come...
It's going to come up just because this is his first title. Whereas, the match he had against Seth, wasn't it, I think, last year at Mania? That's never going to go down as Seth matches, and it's not going to even go down as a memorable one because, this wasn't Seth's first championship. Whereas with Drew here, it's going to go down as a memorable one because this is Drew's first championship. And going back to Clump's point, when Brock was facing Finn at Rumble, you know, there were several times where I thought Finn was going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we were there and we were feeling the excitement. We were in the moment. And it was like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Holy shit, we're going to witness it.
Oh
and
my God, they're going to do it.
Yeah, it didn't. And we were like, fuck. Oh, well, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're hyper deflated, and you're like, fuck. I thought he had it. Like, he fucking had it. Like, but this was one the whole
And
time you're watching, you're like, okay, so this is how Drew's going to win?
Yeah.
And that
But anyways,
it
guys, I
takes
gotta
away
take a
like
commercial break. I'll be right back.
Run.
well,
I'm
and
gonna-
that's what takes away from it so bad. Like, I feel like they expect by beating Brock because he's the monster, it's going to be this, oh my God, he won moment. No. The feeling when Brock wins against Finn Balor is the feeling in reverse that you want that feeling, but you want it for the person. You want that compelling ass match. But no, when it's this, it's just, it's expected. Oh, cool, that happened. Yeah, I figured it was going to happen once that's happening, you know? It just sucked. It was flat. It should have opened it.
I was expecting there was going to be more times where I thought Brock Lesnar was definitely going to win. You know what I mean? Because I went into this match thinking, all right, the obvious move is to give it to Drew, but why would you do that with all this other shit, right? So when it was just going the whole time, I just kept watching on like, oh shit, that's because Drew's going to win. Oh, because Drew's going to win. Even with Finn Balor, where you walked into that going, well, Finn Balor has to lose this match. Partway through the match, you go, oh my God, he's going to win. And at no point did you feel like Brock was going to win. And at no point did you feel surprised that Drew was going to win. But at no point did you feel like on the edge of your seat on if he could do it or anything. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't even that you feel like that Drew was better than Brock. You just felt like it was the obviousness thing to do with Brock.
I feel like also, and the reason this is frustrating to me, and I honestly would say this is maybe one of my more disappointing matches of the year, is this. We're putting the title on somebody we haven't seen since we had these empty arena matches.
Yeah.
And after. We've seen Drew in segments where they curate it for him.
But they've replayed his old stuff. He hasn't recorded anything new since they went to empty arena, apart from WrestleMania night specifically.
Yes.
Spoiler alert,
Exactly.
on Raw, Drew did not show up.
And I have a problem with another champion that's not showing up doesn't have the aura of badassness that Brock does. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is Brock did show up, or Brock has Heyman. Brock doesn't need to show up because Brock does.
Mm-hmm.
Brock's character works. With Drew, you need to show the fuck up. And if you can't show up, why can't you show up? And if it's because you're not good like on the mic, or you're not charismatic, which I think we're seeing, I don't want to see you. I don't want you to have a belt.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
I question why you're here. Who other than Drew could have been there? A lot of people. And a lot of people have done better. I think it would have been, looking back, imagine the story of if Kofi followed his WrestleMania moment with a Royal Rumble moment. He won the Royal Rumble. He went back and got Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could see Kofi with a belt in an empty arena because he's got that charisma, or I could see a lot of people that do this better than Drew does.
Yeah, and it would have spoken to people. People would have fucking rioted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, if we had Kofi Mania 2 after Kofi Rumble, yeah, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, 100%. So, Kevlar, what we're about to talk about now, because we're talking about how Drew hasn't showed up since Empty Arena happened. He showed up at WrestleMania, and the Raw spoiler is that he did not show up on Raw. They replayed something that happened at WrestleMania. I think, and I feel, and I want to know what you guys think about this specifically, it seems to me that the people they've been putting on the Empty Arena shows are not only the people who they... For one, who are volunteering, because there's people who are concerned and don't want to go, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. The people who are getting mic time, I feel, are people who don't need to be scripted. People who don't need to rely on the writers, because they can't have the writers there right now. Maybe they have one writer for everybody, and that's too much. That's too fucking much. So how do you have someone go out there and dictate, hey, this is the kind of the feel you got to do, here's the kind of feel you got to do, and trust the talent to go out there and do that thing and do it well? I feel like, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, I feel like the only people we've seen with mic time longer than 30 seconds has been people they trust the mic with. Bailey, Sasha, Heyman, Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn. Nikki Cross on commentary was a little guarded because you had Michael Cole there. Asuka, because she can say whatever she wants and no one knows what it is anyways. You know what I mean? But we definitely have not seen Drew. Let's look through it. Cesaro's talked on the mic, no Drew Gallagher. Alexa had very, very little. Nikki very little. Kabuki Warriors had a good amount. Kairi Sane not present. Elias and Corbin have both had mic time, plenty. Becky, loads of mic time. Shayna Baszler, just a little bit. Sammy loads. Daniel Bryan, a good chunk. Morrison, Usos, and New Day have all had decent amount of time, but Morrison and Miz, I think, the most. Owens and Seth Rollins have both had loads of mic time. Strowman, non-existent. Goldberg, 2 words during one segment.
Yeah.
Undertaker and AJ, both loads of mic time. Let's see. Liv Morgan and Natalya, not present. Charlotte and Rhea, no mic time for either of them. Really short snippets and replays of video packages they've had before. Alistair and Bobby, both no mic time. Otis and Dolph, both an okay amount of mic time. Dolph more than Otis. Edge and Orton, tons. Street Profits, way too much. Angel Garza and Austin Theory, not much. Bailey, loads of mic time. Bray and Cena, both loads of mic time. Drew McIntyre, not present. Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman had loads of mic time.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just me, or are they giving the matches to the people who they trust? For the most part, not always, but for the most part, I think they're only giving TV time to the people they trust. And how do you put the belt on Drew when you clearly don't trust him?
And then how we hear about these things, like in podcasts we listen to, where they say, well, it was just the right time for that person, or yeah, we went with them at that. I have a hard time imagining in 5 years or whatever, when we're listening to a podcast about this, and it's Conrad or whoever asking someone, well, why Drew at that point, and them defending it. Because I have a hard time believing if you can't put this person on stuff, and the argument is valid, that you can't trust them when you don't have that scripting, then why the hell are you putting the belt on them? Yeah, they're big. Yeah, they look good. Yeah, they can do decent matches. And I'm saying decent because we've not seen a lot of Drew doing matches. Why?
Maybe the best match he had was against Ambrose. Am I right or wrong? I think maybe the best match Drew's had against Ambrose.
I would say some of it is in NXT, like with Rude. Oh. But the thing is, like, these are also when you can't do the rest of the stuff, and we hear so much that it's not just about the match work, or it's everything that makes a champion. Then why are we putting it on someone who does, some of the job when we have these other people we're trusting with so much more?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's been my argument the entire time with Braun. I've never really liked Braun as a character. When I see him do his behind the stuff things, he looks cool as shit, like cool dude, But I've never understood why he's gotten the push that he has outside of just being a monster.
Yeah.
WWE on Fox is tweeting right now. There's backstage is having Drew on.
Yeah, McIntyre's on backstage right now.
Yeah, there's a quote. I'm so proud of you. It's Christian and Renee.
But I just don't. I think similar to Drew, I think this was his time. And you put it on because this was supposed to end, Brock's reign. Mm-hmm. And you go on from here, whether they keep pushing him or not, you go on. Similar to, I think no matter who Goldberg faced, I think they were going to win. I think Goldberg was like, all right, I'm going to do a run from Saudi to Mania again, and that's it. And I think especially in these times, I don't think WWE was willing to fork out the cash and be like, hey, stick around for another 2 months. Once this blows over, then we'll have the payoff of you losing. So you're like, all right, who's he gonna face? Well, Braun. Braun, is big. He's a monster. He's gonna be champion one day. All right, let's make it happen. Go.
Yeah.
No, I think, it was a weird spot that put Braun in there. I agree with you. It was one of those like, okay, if not Roman, who? And the only person they have on the card that doesn't already have a more compelling match, it's gonna be Braun. But I feel like Drew. The thing that upsets me with Drew is I don't feel like it was. I feel like it was his moment, or it was a moment given to him. Let's put it that way. It feels like a continuation of what that documentary kind of showed. Is we're giving you everything. What are we missing? Because something's missing. If we're not seeing you, if you're not getting mic time when the chips are down, and you can't perform when the chips are down. Why? And I feel like there are people on the card that you could put in Drew's position, just like you could put in Braun's position, that weren't in storylines that were as defined that would have done good.
Well, see, and I think this would have been the perfect time to have the underdog out of nowhere thing, almost like the KO coming, to the main roster and beating Cena in his first match. I think this would have been the time you put somebody that's not, and it might ruin Goldberg's legacy to a certain, degree, but I think you have, and all I'm throwing out there is Ali. He's the first person that came to mind right now. But, come out of nowhere and be like, I'll fight him. And it's like, all right, this is not going to happen. And then they pull it off. And I think that would have a bigger impact on it, and I think they dropped the ball there. I think they, in typical WWE fashion, they went for the safest bet. And the safest bet was Braun, and it was like, here, it's yours now. It sucks because it almost feels like the way he won the IC.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, here, you got it. Good job. We're going to take it from you in a little bit, but you got it.
He's also the most defeatable giant they've ever had. The guy loses matches all the fucking time. I feel like they should have gone with Big E. He was pulled out of the ladder.
I was going to say, it would have been big. Let's make Big E's dream match.
Yeah, Big E's dream match is Goldberg WrestleMania. And he even said, because he goes, it's just two big piles of meat slapping against each other for 30 seconds and the match is over. He goes, and he's like, and you just let the match be over. He goes, I didn't have to win. And you know what? He wouldn't have had to win. But I'd be more interested in seeing Big E versus Goldberg and get a loss than I'm interested in seeing Braun Strowman get against Goldberg and get the win. You know what I mean? And I think if Big E won it, that'd have been huge for New Day. That'd have been huge.
And it would have worked because they had already said, well, we already knew that Miz wasn't going to be at Mania, so we knew there was going to be some weirdness with the fucking ladder match.
Yeah.
So
and Big E was already pulled out of that.
Moment too.
But I also think you could have done the big swerve and put Kofi in both matches. You could have Kofi get his revenge on or I guess not against Brock, but I feel like he should have been there before Drew, but whatever. I think you could have put any person in there and you'd have been okay. I think Big E or Kofi would have been my picks personally, but they went with Braun and it felt like a little too obvious, a little too dumb, and I felt like it almost was like, well, what was Roman going to do after Goldberg anyways? Well, we were going to pair him up with Braun. All right, let's put it on Braun and just turn it in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Is your flipping it for when yet? You know what I mean? Put it in reverse it?
Yeah.
You're dropping all sorts of music references today.
You're like 1998 to 2002 hip hop's on point right now.
That's a good point. Most people say that about me.
No,
This is TRL on the rocks.
Hell yeah, TRL on the rocks. What up, Carson Daly?
She's in real life.
Past 4 hours.
Yeah, he does the voice.
You had
No, I know he has a voice.
Oh, you didn't bring me any
We're not
mixers,
going to
so
talk
it's
about
just
the fucking
crowd.
voice. We're not.
I know. I'm just saying because it always comes on after Masked Singer, I think, on Hulu.
The voice
That's
comes
why I
on
know
after
he's
Max
still alive.
Singer?
I don't watch it.
Alright, are we still talking about WrestleMania?
We were talking about WrestleMania. It's important to know.
No.
Does Matt Brown or Matt Brown Associates watch the voice after Masked Singer? I think that's the real question. Go ahead.
I
hit
know
us up
my
in the
producer
chat.
watches The Voice.
There's no chat because you're not talking about WrestleMania.
Well,
We're
you
talking
could
the
ask
fuck
her
out of
to-
WrestleMania.
Carson Daly was still alive.
Carson Daly is not only still alive, he's thriving.
Okay.
Like herpes.
Much
Yes.
like Nick Cannon on The Masked Singer.
Nick Cannon is so good on The Masked Singer, dude. He knows every fucking person they talk about and all of their accolades ever. It's insanity. Someone
Yeah,
says,
it's almost like somebody's in his ear telling him it.
do you think they could even look it up that much, though? That close? Like,
Their profile's already written on all of them.
well, I guess they could cut it down, like, time-wise, but there's times where they're like, oh, I think it's this person. Like, oh, they said they went for a Grammy one time. Like, what? Like, oh, this person said they wanted to become a singer at some point. And like, what the fuck? When did they say that? Like, he just knows all this inside shit. It does turn out via chat that no Matt Brown associate watches The Voice. So we will not be investing time into The Voice moving forward. And Kevlar, if you and your producer decide to do so, that's on your own accord.
Alright.
All right, that's been decided.
I'm leaving. See ya.
We're definitely on day
Or
2.
day 2, yeah.
What'd you guys think of Liv Morgan versus Natalia?
It was a good thing for Liv. I thought it was a good match for Liv. I thought Liv showed up good. I think it's important that they need to build up strong. Like, they need to build up the women's division, period. I think we've seen that in the past year. The women's division's been kind of lacking. Because
You're dumb.
we pulled Asuka. What?
You're dumb, I said you're dumb.
No. Oh, okay.
Their women's division's incredible, dude. They're the most important stories
And
on
that's why
every
they're
card.
pulling Asuka out of a tag team feud to feud with Becky.
The
Well,
singles
see, I
women.
think
They
I
need
think-
more strong. Sorry.
I think Clump's going more for they need to develop the women's mid card, and they showed it in
Oh.
the past where they started to, and then shat on it, but need something to fall back on, so they don't have to pull Asuka or a women's tag champ to be in the main event.
Okay, what Kevlar says makes sense, and I still think Clump's a jerk.
Yeah, like I think SmackDown's women's division's better by a long shot.
I just
Raw's-
imagine that we're gonna see Clump like stand up, kick his chair over, and be like 3 feet away from the screens, being like, "Fuck you, dude! I said what I said." You know?
I can moon this camera.
No.
He's gonna
I'll be
Ace
like that.
Ventura his
that chick with
entire
Flavor of Love
review.
that just take his shit and leave.
Dude, you could totally Ace Ventura, bare ass, your entire review of Firefly Funhouse.
No. I'll cut the feed, I swear to God.
What kind of voice does my ass have? I think it's high pitched.
I'm just gonna put like a character over the screen.
We're trying to get a bit here, producer.
Do you think the emoji would pick up your ass as a face? Because I do. I think yours would.
Wait, I have an idea. Kevin's got a good idea. I will show my ass unless we get bits.
No.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
I'm firing you.
Just let him in,
I swear.
Yeah, we're getting bits.
Fuck a computer. We're buying a Ferrari. I just had to threaten to show my ass.
I thought Liv Morgan and Natalia was great. I thought it was an awesome match. Really, really good showing by both women, which I thought was good. Which was also weird because the next match up was Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. I know that I am not of the rest of the crowd.
Whoa.
What?
Somebody get this guy a medic. Quick.
Okay. So there was a lot of talk online about how they thought this was the greatest match of the night, maybe the best women's match in all of wrestling history, best in WrestleMania history. I did not feel that or see that. Am I just way the fuck off base because I found this boring? I found the yelling to be obnoxious and over.
Oh, Charlotte.
Charlotte and both Rhea. Oh, yeah. Charlotte and Rhea, I found the yelling out to be outrageous on both parts. I found it to be just a match of burying Rhea for long term. It was like a slow burial. It wasn't even like, hey, this is truly back and forth. And I felt like it was completely necessary. And I think the NXT division does not need Charlotte at all. I'm not excited about the idea of a Charlotte versus anyone in an NXT match. I'd be more excited about seeing an actual NXT champion come back dominant, where now we get someone who's already plowed through the NXT roster once before, now has plowed through every NXT person who's ever come through the main roster as well, come back down to just bully the NXT roster again. That's my feeling of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I do too. I was withdrawn from this match. Excuse me. And, I thought it was boring as well. And I thought, much like the women's tag match, the yelling was just unnecessary.
It's too much.
Yeah. And it was annoying. It took away from the match. And maybe the match was good, but, once again, I think I was withdrawn from it. But I think that you could have done more, but at the same time, this whole build-up, I wasn't excited for it at all. I know there was a lot of people who were like, oh shit, Charlotte's going after Rhea, and, this is great, and stuff like that, but I don't see it, I don't like it, and, I'm in the same boat as you, Marsh. And going back to, real quick, the Natalya and Liv thing, I would have loved to see Ruby get involved in it and cost her the match, because this match came out of nowhere, and, there was no build-up to it, but going forward, I don't see anywhere that they're going to do with it, or any direction that they're going with it. I think there needed to be something.
On that real quick, I do think that you could build a Natalya-Liv rivalry in some weird way, much like they did Lacey and Natalya, which didn't really make sense, but it kind of worked. Their match was so good, I'd be okay with it. On Raw, we had Liv versus Asuka, which also didn't make any sense, and Liv had maybe her best performance of her career so far. So I'm kind of okay with it either way, and I think that what we do right now is we build Liv strong, so as she goes into a rivalry with Ruby, it's believable it could be either side. Because I think starting off, it's very much one-sided to Ruby, and I think this is how you build the Liv character, where you think, oh, she's not just Ruby's friend anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was gonna say of the Rhea and Charlotte match.
Yep.
The biggest thing that I thought, like, I like Rhea a lot, but this match made me kind of fall out. The reason being was consistent selling. It was really, like, when you're spending that much, when you're in that much pain that takes, like, so bad, then how the hell are you doing these suplexes, these moves that require you to plant both feet? Can't you sell it? It was all, if you did, it would have immeasurably improved the match. But by not doing it, it just ruined it to me. It was terrible. It really bugged me. And yeah, it felt like Fab Tina put in here, Charlotte always needs a WrestleMania match. Yeah, Charlotte needs to go away for a long period of time. This feels like I feel like the reason I say the women's division on and really overall on the main roster is weak to me is because of Charlotte being present.
Yes.
They're doing a lot to build people in SmackDown and stuff, but when Charlotte just rears up again, it's frustrating because then we're taking time somebody who's on the main roster and does decent work or can improve and can be shown for Charlotte over and over again. And now we're going to do that to NXT.
Yeah.
I thought this was... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was
just going to say, sorry, I'm gone.
Go.
I thought, when no matter what Charlotte does, there's going to be comparisons to Rick.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I think that Charlotte feels, because of her dad's legacy, that she always has to be on top and has to be proving something, having Mania wins, having titles, whatever. And I don't think Charlotte realizes or thinks that she can take a sidestep and let other people do it with, the legacy her dad had. And while Rick did that, Rick would take the back seat to somebody and he would, let other people shine and stuff like that. And I think Charlotte, much like your guys' complaint with Drew, that she's just entitled. Mm-hmm. And they've given her everything, and they're continuously giving her everything. They're giving her what she wants. And, I think she needs to, go away, even if it's a fake injury or something, and like almost completely rebrand herself, especially to separate her from her father.
Yeah.
Her coming out here with the robes and, the feathers and the glitz and stuff like that, it's like, all right, she's doing it for her dad. I thought it was cool at first. I still kind of like it. I like it, her coming out with the black robe.
Yeah.
It just feels right. But if she came back, and almost was almost like an American badass, like if she was a biker chick almost, where she came out in just jeans and a t-shirt and was like, all right, let's go, and still did the same stuff, all right, cool. But I think her running on Rick's coattails to get to where she's at and continuously still doing that is just too much.
It is a bit much. I also think that as one of the things that's remarkable about Ric Flair getting the title 16 times was that was 16 times the companies felt completely comfortable with allowing him to face the company, but it was also 17 times that he put someone else in front of him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At a time when he was at the top. So I think that as much as it's all like, oh yeah, Charlotte, and arguably if you look at some of Charlotte's reigns, there's definitely a number of times where she was a transitional champion. Bringing the SmackDown title to WrestleMania 35, she was just there to get Becky that big win. Taking the SmackDown title off of Becky so Bayley could take it at Money in the Bank, definitely there just to give Bayley the win but not have the win over Becky. I do think that that's in her to be that, but I don't know if the writers always have that for her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Charlotte, maybe with the amount of people we have in the women's division now, we focus so much on competition and belts, but within the men's division, we've also had these side feuds that are not just like one-dimensional feuds. Maybe Charlotte needs to take on the role of like when Kevin said the American Badass thing, I thought of this is maybe she needs to take on the role of like an Undertaker.
Yeah.
The Undertaker isn't going for the belt continuously. If she says she's the queen doesn't need a belt. The queen already has it. Have her be a person who, enters in feuds with people, but it's not for the belt, or something like that. They need to develop these different layered feuds so you can get people to an upper echelon away from that, because right now, if you're at the top of the card, what are you fighting for? The belt.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And they need to create something where they can pull people away, The only other time that I think we saw that recently was, unfortunately, when it was Nikki, Bella, and Maurice with John Cena and Miz. It's these feuds where it's, you're not working for a belt, but you're at the top of the card. Why? Because, it's a revolving love or something like that. Have something more,
Yeah. I wonder if also part of this, and it'd be interesting to, really know, I guess we'll find out in time. I wonder if part of this is so she can move to Florida with Andrade and start a family and really just start training people in NXT. Because if that's the case, then cool. I just don't think it had to be this way. I think they really did a disservice to Rhea Ripley here. And I know a lot of people, including one of my faves, not Sam Roberts, think that this was the right move because you can do so much with Charlotte. And a lot of people wanted to see her stay on Raw and still be the NXT champion. And I think that's a disservice to the championship to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are even saying, so Sam Roberts also, because I'm trying not to steal any of his shit, he was also saying over and over again that how great it would be if she stayed on Raw, but only sparingly defended the title on NXT and only showed up on NXT TV occasionally. And I think to me, I feel the exact opposite about that. I cannot stand it when a champion's not there, for one. If they're a heel champion, I'm okay with it from a fan standpoint because I understand I'm not supposed to like you and that helps. But from any other standpoint, if you're literally showing the title on other shows, it's very upsetting to me. So I don't understand a world where she doesn't show up on NXT, doesn't defend the title, and I respect her as an NXT champion. She doesn't get all those things. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, but what would her role on Raw be?
Exactly. as
know
this
what I mean?
NXT
Unless,
champion
is she
on
a
Raw.
competitor? I don't know.
And what's her role in NXT then? As the champion who doesn't
exactly.
train anyone?
Well, we get a little bit of an answer for it on Raw. But yeah, no, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's with Brock, because I think that's the parallel people when they say that she should be less on NXT. Yeah, Brock always had Heyman there, had something there. There was a presence felt. This isn't that. You need to have if the person isn't there needs to be a deafening silence.
Yeah.
That they're not talking. You know what I mean? Like an acute awareness that, hey, we don't have a belt. Why?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to happen here. I don't see a benefit to this in any way. It bury Rhea, and Rhea, because Bianca got called up, is going to be the person who's going to go. That's their top star. So who, other than Rhea, can go for Charlotte?
Yeah. So what's the fucking point? Because you
Yeah.
put Bianca and unless you bring over Toni Storm, but you put Bianca, you put Shayna, you put them on Raw, like. Where the fuck are we going with all this?
Yep.
Who's left?
Do you think they're gonna try and get rid of the women's division on NXT?
No. Here's the thing. My favorite women in wrestling are not in NXT. With that in mind, I can look at the roster in NXT and say they have the single best women's division in all of wrestling history. There's been no time, I think, from any company at any time that has had such a strong women's division as NXT has right now.
No, yeah, from top to bottom, yeah, I agree with that.
And it's insanity. Because you know what? My favorites aren't even there. But to look at them and say, yeah, but they're probably better than my favorites. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even... who's like the NXT jobber? What's her name? Kaden something. Carter.
Tegan Knox?
No, Kaden Carter.
Oh, Kaden Carter. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah, I like her. I like her a lot. And, when I keep seeing her put into things and, just to push people over or put people over, I'm like, why? I was like, I think she's got talent. I think she could be really good. And, you don't have that on Raw or SmackDown. You have like the Dana Brooke who's kind of the jobber and stuff like that. But, I do agree that NXT has, the best women's division from top to bottom. The problem is I think there's not enough, main eventers in that division.
I think
especially with the call-up that you just made.
I think any one of them could be main eventers. I really do. I think they're all ready for it. I don't think they need Charlotte to prove that or to be that. I think Charlotte's in the way of that.
Well, and going to your point with Charlotte moving to Florida to, start a family, I'm just wondering if WWE thinks, all right, let's do this. Let's say she becomes pregnant. It's an easy title for her to just relinquish and walk away from.
Yeah. Yeah, that one gets relinquished all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Paige walked away from it? Asuka walked away from it. I feel like there's one or two others that just walked away from it. It's not always the title that gets defended away.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, when you brought up her starting a family, excuse me. I thought that's immediately the first thing that came to mind was, it's so that if she does start a family and, becomes pregnant, it's all right, here you go, see ya.
Yeah. But I also think that she'd be involved in training others. I do think that I think and I hope that there's that part of her where she wants to teach other people stuff. But realistically, at the end of the day, the things that I've heard and whatnot, it's hard for me to think that she's really got other people in mind all the time. But I do think that the possibility is there. Yeah. I think that's more realistically what we're probably looking at is a wind down of Charlotte's career. Because I think from Charlotte's standpoint, what else is there left to do? I retired the Divas champion. I've held the Raw. I've held the SmackDown. I won Royal Rumble. The only thing she hasn't done is won the Tag Team Championship. So she's not technically a Grand Slam champion. Does she need that, and can she not do that from NXT? Because my understanding is she could.
Yeah. Well, and that, and that was one of the things I was going to bring up is I think it's just a matter of time before she gets the tag belt.
I've always thought that, but I think right now we might be in a stage where she might be thinking more family than company, and we could be to a point where she goes, you know what, do I even really need it? Is it important to my legacy? Charlotte's already down in the books as the single most athletic woman to ever be in wrestling. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what she's known as. And I think for someone like a Bayley or a Sasha, it's more important to have those tag titles there because of their background. I don't think Charlotte needs it, and I think we're at a point where she might be willing to walk away from that to have the family and the stability of Florida.
Yeah. Well, see, and you know what's weird about that is, I could see more of, like, Natalya doing this.
Uh-huh.
And being okay with it. Like...
I think Natalya needs that tag title. Natalya needs the tag title.
Mm-hmm. But,
because
I don't know, we'll see.
Anything else you had to say about it, Clump?
No, I'm like, I'm just kind of frustrated with where this is. I can get the point of Charlotte going to the performance center to train, but it feels young. And it doesn't feel like what I would want the character to do. And then if that's the case, then why the hell does she have to win the Royal Rumble? It's kind of it's a very frustrating frustrated view I have of this move. It's one of the weaker points of this WrestleMania to me.
I think I thought it was super weak, but I think the reason she would have to win the Royal Rumble is because I think that if she is ready to wind down, she doesn't want the looming never won the Royal Rumble over her head.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is that if this is, obviously just all speculation, but if this is, the downside of her career, if not, her heading towards the exit, that she wanted the Rumble win, so they gave it to her and stuff like that. Because I've talked to Marsh about it, and there's hundreds of ways that they could have gotten to Rhea versus Charlotte. At the starting at the beginning, that didn't involve the Rumble. That would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah. The Rumble was the least sensible one to do, but it'd be the most important for Charlotte to do. Yeah,
and I think, going back to her career, Rick won the Rumble. So, okay, I want to do it. Okay, here you go. I don't think the tag belt in WCW or WWE.
Yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head, but I can also see Charlotte saying, hey, I want those before I go. And like Marsh said, she can still do that in NXT.
Yeah.
You bridge the gap with, let's say, Alexa and Nikki, defending it over the brands. They go there. Okay, Charlotte picks, whoever, even maybe her predecessor, if you will, in NXT. And, hey, she got them. She loses them. They go back and forth. And then that person takes the NXT title from Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if you're just tuning in, let us know what you think.
Yeah, jump in the chat. Let us know what you think about WrestleMania and all this stuff. I do think Charlotte and Natalya would make a good tag team champions if they decided to do that, just because of their history. It'd be one of those, rivalries turned friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyone who saw WrestleMania, or even if you didn't saw WrestleMania, go ahead and let us know what you think about what's going on. If you didn't saw it,
you didn't saw it.
If you didn't saw it, but you meant it.
Let us know if you seed it.
Also, anybody in the Matt Brown camp who's looking to see WrestleMania, I'll give you my password to network. Just give me a text.
No, he won't. He's just kidding.
Just because you're eating off my Netflix too, or my network.
No, not.
I know. Kevlar's like, that's the only thing I'm paying for.
Bullshit.
There's only 2 other matches on here I think we haven't really touched ground on, and that'd be the SmackDown Women's and the Firefly Funhouse we haven't really dug into. So we'll hit Bailey real quick. I mean, we didn't talk about Street Profits winning. Anything about that you guys wanted to mention? Because I didn't really
Do we
give a shit.
need to?
Yeah, there's nothing I had to say about it other than it was there.
Yeah, it was a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about the
And
whole thing.
Montez yelling and screaming and shit.
What do you feel about the Bianca coming out for that match? I felt like I didn't care it was there. I wish I did.
I was okay with it, but then it was a cool. I was like, oh, that's a cool kind of special moment. Then, well,
It's nice for her and her husband. I think it's shitty for her character. I wish her character didn't use the Street Profits at all.
I think 100% that her character suffers from being with the Street Profits. And it's weird because, you know, I talked to Marsh about this. It's so weird how sometimes they try and keep NXT and the main roster completely separate.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where it's like, okay, no, you know, let's continue this. You know, and Angel Garza is a big one, where Angel Garza wins the Cruiserweight Championship and proposes to his girlfriend, and it's like, oh, great. Then he gets called up to the main roster, and he's all of a sudden, you know, machismo sex symbol, and it's like,
Yeah.
you proposed. What happened? What, you know, did you not? Did you guys break up or something? But it's like, and then with Bianca going with the Street Profits, it's like, you know, she didn't need it. Her character is strong enough on NXT, and I think this might almost be the demise of her.
it's a weird trope they fall into a lot, and I feel more and more frustrated as it goes. I mean, my hope is that they separate them rapidly and that she can maintain separate, or maybe they want this. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels like even with Becky, they did it briefly with Seth, and you know, if it went well, I'm sure they would have maintained it. Or if it didn't, I don't know why they pushed away from it, because I kind of, when it came out, I was expecting them to go full steam with the Becky Seth thing for a while longer. You know, and who knows, it may come back, but it was frustrating. It wasn't necessary. It diminishes the performer, and it unfortunately diminishes the female performer.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Well, see, and
Hold on one second.
I think.
Wait. What were you going to say, producer?
Oh, he covered it.
He got it? He hit it on the head? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say real quick, I think with the Seth Becky thing, it was the exact opposite, where Becky outshined Seth and made Seth look worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason why they jumped away from it real quick, because at the time, they were the two faces of the company.
And Seth was
And then
already
it was like,
struggling.
hey, let's open it up. Let's show their relationship. Cool. And then they got onto the mic, and Becky just outshined him. And I think they were like, all right, we need to take this a step back, because Seth was supposed to be the face, and she made him look bad unintentionally.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the same thing with Bianca and Montez, where Montez is going to be yelling and screaming and pretending to be the Ultimate Warrior, you know, wiggling the ropes and stuff like that. And Bianca is just going to sit there and, you know, just be herself, and it's going to make him look bad.
Yeah. I think it actually was really bad on Raw. The first three, or not the first two matches. So the first match was Liv versus Asuka, which we talked about a minute ago. Is fantastic. Immediately after, it was a rematch of Street Profits versus Angel and Austin. And that match gets interrupted by Zelina, who's in ring gear miraculously. And Bianca comes out. While they're beating down Montez Ford, Bianca comes out to her music, slowly comes out and does her entrance, does the spin around, spinning and dancing, makes her way to the ring. The whole time, Montez is getting the shit kicked out of him, and she's slowly walking out there. I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? And then she goes out there and starts a thing where she talks about Zelina. So they have a one-on-one with Zelina and Bianca, which gets interrupted by Montez and Austin Theory having a fight. So then they make it into a 3-on-3 match. So you had 3 matches back to back to back of the Street Profits. And it was so much yelling and so much bullshit. And during the Bianca-Zelina match, There's a time when the camera is shooting from the corner to what's happening in the ring with Zelina and Bianca, and Montez literally slides over and gets his face in front of the camera and just screams, "Ah!" and then runs back to the other corner. And I thought, you look like a piece of shit. You can't give your wife fucking 15 minutes of TV by yourself? You have to be the center of attention. You have to be the person someone's talking about. Your own fucking wife can't have 10 fucking minutes of her showcasing her talents to the world. That's when I was like completely done. I turned off the TV. I literally turned off the Raw after Mania.
Yeah. Well, what's upsetting is, so she was one of the two brightest stars in NXT, and we pulled her out. I pulled her out to this. I feel
what
like,
the fuck?
Yeah, I think the reason Becky and Seth didn't work is Becky's star shines so bright. It, like you said, it outshines Seth. My hope is maybe Bianca's star shines bright and she can be there. But right now, Montez's star, and specifically Montez, because of the platform he's given, it's just as like, it's not bright, but it's just huge. He's got the, this is a great show, but it's not going to compete with a network show that everyone sees.
Yeah.
And Montez is loud. He's a section of the fans love him, and yeah, I can get that. He's charismatic.
I understand why people like him, and I don't like it.
And I don't want him to diminish Bianca, because I like Bianca. Bianca's character is a mean, bad bitch, and that's awesome. I mean that in the best way. Her character in NXT has not always been a face.
Yeah.
It's been, a pretty awesome, compelling heel that doesn't take shit. Well, now we're going to put him with the two most cartoonish characters, the two most simplistic characters on the main roster. And I don't say that like in a negative light to them. Their characters are... they're cartoon characters, and that's fine to some people.
Yeah.
But it's not compelling, it's not deep, and she is.
Yeah.
And
see, I think they're the 2020 B team. And
yeah.
I think there's a big difference between charisma and just screaming on the mic. And Montez just screams on the mic.
Yeah.
I think he's got a little charisma, and if they told him to keep it down a little bit, use your inside voice, I think it might shine a little bit better. But he just yells, and they think that that's charisma. Like, I saw something where they were comparing him to an earlier version of The Rock. And I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
The Rock had charisma. He talked, he made you laugh. He made you, I don't want to say cry, but, he made you mad and stuff like that. And with Montez, he just yells. And he sounds like almost when you were younger playing video games and you commentated your own wrestling matches.
Yeah, just yelling. And the thing about The Rock is he talks slow sometimes. He would talk loud, but he'd also bring you in, too. He goes, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment today. And he goes, if you smell... Like, he would turn it up. But he took you on the ride. Montez has no ride.
The chat censored, he's obnoxious.
Obnoxious was censored?
He's obnoxious. Both.
They thought they were talking about you.
Yeah.
Second, and I'm going to get shit for this. I do have someone I do compare them to.
Yeah.
I do think of them similar to from the Attitude Era that were very popular, and I like them a lot more, and I'm fairly certain you both did too.
I think I know where you're going with this, and I don't want you to say it.
Are you going to say Road Dogg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're like the New Age Outlaws. But the New Age Outlaws, the reason I say I view them in better is the New Age Outlaws also had a lot of people around them.
Mm-hmm.
But when it was Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, and Road Dogg is a compelling, loud, charismatic son of a bitch. But when it came down to it, after a while, what he was doing week in and week out was essentially the same goddamn thing, right? It may not have been him.
It was, but at the same
But that's what I
time,
mean. Is they make me think of that.
yeah, I can see that. But at the same time, Road Dogg would change tones. You know, oh, you didn't know, you know what I mean? Type of thing, where Montez just yells, and that's it.
He's just yelling. The other thing about Road Dogg is there was a reality to him where you felt like that was like really him. And you feel like with Montez, I don't feel like there's anything genuine about him. I feel like Montez Ford is 100% playing the wrestler. And I felt like Road Dogg was really tapping into, this is just me goofing off with my friends. It's the D-O-double-G. You know what I mean? And I mean, I think about, and I know this is like left field-ish, but I think about when Owen passed and they had the tribute show right after, and it was supposed to be Road Dogg versus Godfather. And they go to start the match, and Road Dogg grabs a mic, and he says, "What do you say, Godfather? You and me just go roll a big old fatty and tell Owen stories and get the hell out of here." And he said, "I think I'd like that a lot." And then they just fucking packed up and walked out. Like, there was a moment where you didn't feel like Road Dogg was out of character, but you also felt like he was very much himself, because his character, I felt like, was enough of himself. I don't feel like any of Montez is, for one, if that's truly him, then he's the phoniest motherfucker you're ever gonna meet. I don't feel like there's anything like legitimate about him to hold on to.
There was the thing in NXT where Montez gave Dawkins that moment when he was leaving. We haven't seen it. And that was a really weird circumstance that made Road Dogg get there. I get what you're saying. It's a lot, but I'm just saying, like, they are, to me, very, very similar. They're not exact. And again, I like Road Dogg and Billy Gunn way more than I like these guys, but that's who I think it is. Like, if we distill it down to what somebody could portray it as its most basic level, you know what I mean?
Generation X proudly brings to you.
Yeah, there was, you know, like I said, he changed his tone. He changed his, you know, volume, whereas Montez is just yelling. And to me, I think in NXT, I think what they tell people is to emulate your favorite wrestler. That's why you have the Sasha Banks, you know, doing Eddie Guerrero stuff, the Bayley doing Macho Man stuff, you know, so on and so forth. I think Montez's favorite wrestler was the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
That's why he does the rope things and stuff like that. And I think he feels like, you know, the energy that Warrior brought to things, he needs to, you know, be like that all the time. So he's just out there yelling, and it sounds like he's almost on, like, roid rage, where he's just like, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, dude, you know, Warrior also just talks sometimes.
But also,
you know,
no one talks about the best Warrior promos. No one.
No, yeah, because he just talked gibberish. You know, like, hey, coming down from the solar system from above, the crazy, you know, and he would just, you know, go on these weird tangents. But, you know, that was Warrior, and that was kind of the mystique of him.
No one loved Warrior promos. They loved the fact he ran to the ring like a goddamn maniac, flipped out until the bell rang, and then was just a monster when he got going. People loved that aspect of him. No one says, man, I love the Warriors promos. People who say, you, Kevlar, one of your favorite wrestlers of all time is Ultimate Warrior. You have never told me that there was a fucking promo of his you just keep where you're watching because it was so goddamn good.
There's a long track record of him talking and it not going well, in and out of the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's what's funny is that when Warrior spoke, like I said, he would just speak gibberish. And it was, like, funny because it was, you know, not in the comedy sense, but it was funny because you're just like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, what is happening?
Yeah, what is going on here? But, you know, that became his, you know, shtick, you know, appeal when he had the microphone. You know, expect the unexpected. But, you know, he wasn't yelling. I don't think he was ever yelling. He got intense and like, but he was never yelling. And I think Montez is taking Warrior's energy and trying to put it in his promos, almost mixed with The Rock.
Yeah.
And it's just coming out with him just, hey, you know, and it's, you know, it's whatever. I think, you know, his in-ring ability, I think, is pretty solid. And you can build off of that. But you don't have to be yelling. You don't have to put your, be the cartoonish, face, making that expression on your face and, doing the ring ropes. If he was doing the, shaking the ring ropes like the Warrior, it should be mid-match where he's getting, pumped up like the Warrior would some of the time and, like hulking up.
Yeah.
And then, doing something. But after the end, like, maybe to celebrate a little bit, but he sits there for, 2 minutes, with this crazy, like I said, roid rage expression. And he's like, Arr!
Yeah, and he's scrawny looking to boot, so it's not even like, you don't look like the Warrior, dude. Fucking, like, I wish there was a reality to him where he could just break through. Like, because I think there is something to him. And I think that there is probably something very charismatic and real about him. And I feel like that he's...
Oh, we're not seeing it.
Yeah, we're not seeing it at all. He's protecting himself so much. I was saying it to the guys in the Not Sam chat, because I'm a Not Sam patron. I suggest you guys all go check out the At Not Sam stuff too. But the Discord channel is really cool. And in there's a ton of people who love wrestling. And in there we were talking about Raw, and I talked about how this was too much Street Profits. I can't handle it. I have to turn it off. Tell me when they're off TV. And they were talking about how much they liked them. And I said, look, I'm not trying to convince you to not like them. I understand why people like them. My thing is I know it's a personality clash. I know that if me and Montez Ford had a bunch of mutual friends and I went to a party where I'm having a good time and Montez Ford showed up, my response to that would be to quietly walk out when no one's looking, get in my car and leave. Because I'm not going to make a big deal of it. I'm not going to tell anybody not to be his friend. I'm not going to say I don't get it. But it's definitely not the kind of thing that makes me comfortable because he comes off so insincere. And I don't want any part of that. So, like, I get his energy. I understand why people find him funny to watch. I don't find it to be compelling. And I wish that he just came off more authentic. Like, there's no way that's who you are. It's just not the case,
No, I got you. And I wonder how much of that is, is it what got popular with them? And, is it, again, the idea of distilling down, well, this is popular, keep doing this.
Yeah.
I think we need to see more because it will age rapidly. I mean, they're trying things, but I think they're trying let's try you in different segments, but they're also not having them differentiate how they present it.
I 100% am at a point where if I never saw the Street Profits again on TV, I wouldn't notice or care.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't. If they just said we're having a tournament for the fucking Raw tag team titles, I go, oh, this is interesting. I wouldn't go, what the fuck? I wouldn't say, where the hell are Street Profits? I go, oh, nice. We're having a tournament for the tag titles. There's nothing about them I find compelling or anything to attach to. And as fucked up as it sounds, I don't feel like that's a knock on the people. It's a knock on the betrayal, on the portrayal of them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're probably pretty cool guys. Probably. But there's nothing about the way they're shown on TV.
One layer to them.
Yeah. And I'm not interested. I'm not interested so much that I don't care if anything happened to them. If they were to blow up in a limo on TV, I'd go, okay, I guess they're gone. Next.
Well, and I wonder if it's getting stale, like, is this why they're bringing Bianca in?
Getting stale? Well, shit's been stale.
But if you're doing that, then, like, that's not fixing it. That's adding a person, taking them away from but also, again, we don't know. I mean, I could see if you're a married couple, being able to work together, tour together is probably nice.
It's probably super nice for them, but I think it's going to be really bad for them. I think it's super nice for them.
But see, I think at the same time, being a married couple and wanting to tour with each other and stuff like that's fine, but you don't have to put them together on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say about Street Profits at this point.
Yeah. We kind of went on a tangent there.
Yeah, I tried to blow past them because I didn't give a shit, but they fucking ruined Raw for me. For the first time since I stopped watching wrestling when Undertaker came out. People don't believe this. I've mentioned it online before. People said you're clearly joking. When Undertaker came out and rubbed Jim Ross's face into Vince McMahon's asshole for the Kiss My Ass Club, I turned off the TV that day and did not turn it on again until SummerSlam, where Finn Balor was facing, or it was the day before SummerSlam. I'm not trying to lie. It was NXT TakeOver, and I remember watching the whole TakeOver and the whole SummerSlam, but the things that stick out in my mind were Bayley versus Asuka and Finn versus Seth. That's the first time I watched wrestling since Undertaker came out and added Jim Ross to the Kiss My Ass Club. I stopped watching wrestling full stop. What was it talking about before that minute?
That's it.
You're talking about
Bailey?
What made you stop watching?
Well, that made me stop, but what was the sentence prior to that?
Tuning back in or turning it off. I think you were talking
Turning it
about
off. I have not turned off a Raw after WrestleMania since that day, nor did I turn off a WrestleMania Raw before that day. This is probably the first ever since '96 to that moment, and then from the SummerSlam to this moment, where during Raw after WrestleMania, I legitimately turned it off. I just turned off the show, and I sat in silence. Because I'd rather sit here in silence for 20 minutes and hope that the fucking Street Profits are off TV than sit through it like I do so many other shitty programs. You know what I mean? There's been so many times during Raws where I thought, yeah, this segment sucks, but it's going to be over soon. Street Profits back to back to back to back was so bad for so long, I just turned off the TV. And never from the time that you Kevlar, turned me on to wrestling in '96 to the point where Undertaker did that, and I want to say it was 02 or 03, to that gap in between to me bringing back in, I think it was 2014, 2015, where I actually turned off the Raw.
Layover.
Yeah. I had a whole Edge time off. And coming back and finding myself in a position where I said, I cannot watch this. And I turned them off. That's what they've done to me as a fan. This fan.
This fan.
Yeah, all of this. And you only see half of it. The fucking thousands of dollars of shit on my wall. I got a discount, probably.
On one or two.
Yeah. What do you think of SmackDown Women's Championship match? The 5 elimination.
Yeah, it was good. I'm happy Bayley retained. It kind of like, to me, it kind of fell into everything else there. Like, it wasn't a standout match to me.
I really liked it. Now, apart from the fact I'm a huge Bayley mark, I'll throw that out there, but I really liked it because I did like the amount of shit talk happening in the match. I thought Bayley was super vocal in the match, which I thought was good. There were moments where, like, she was trying to direct everyone to do stuff on her behalf. It was really funny, like, when Tamina was down there, she's like, go, 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 Naomi, you go. Like, trying to get everyone to attack her. And she wasn't even a part of what was happening. She was just, like, telling them what to do, and they were, like, doing it. I thought with a silent arena, it was really cool to watch. And I thought it was a really solid match, really good. And it left just enough to where you could turn that Sasha Bayley switch on if you want, but you don't have to yet. No. I'm excited for when they do, but they didn't have to yet, and they didn't. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm always happy when Bayley walks away the champion. But also, I also think it's just a fun point to make is that Bayley, I think, is the first woman ever to walk into WrestleMania with the Raw title, walk into WrestleMania with the Tag Team title, and then walk into the WrestleMania with the SmackDown title. No other woman's defended all 3 championships in a WrestleMania but her. And she's defended 2 of them. The singles ones, she's held on to. The one that she lost was the tag team one. And I think that Sasha got pinned for that, but I don't remember well. So,
you know, the only thing that bothered me with that match is the whole thing happened with Sasha and Bayley, you know, the little riff.
Yeah.
And Sasha being, I've always had your back. I've always had your back. And it's like, besides the 7 times you've stabbed her in the back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the only part that to me was like, that's what you're harping on?
Yeah.
But...
yeah, I get that 100%. But I think the match played out really, really well.
I was worried about Tamina being the odd one out. I think they did a fairly decent job with Tamina, looking like a badass and like playing the role well.
I don't think anyone came out looking bad. I think everyone came out looking really well.
Yeah, Naomi looked really well, and I for a while there I thought Lacey was gonna win it, and I was like, oh
yeah,
is this the start?
There was moments where we were furious in the household for sure.
Fun fact: Liv and Naomi, their gear was designed by a fan. Yeah,
so one fan was designing a bunch of like concept gear on their like little fashion Twitter. I don't mean to minimize it by saying little, and I apologize for that if it offended you. That's not the point. But the same person who designed Naomi's also designed Liv's, and that person like even tweeted out at them like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you'd made my gear the thing," and they both were like, "We love your work" and stuff. So
and they're
really cool,
really good.
Yeah, they likely have some sort of degree in fashion design because the way the drawings were very fashion designish. It wasn't just like, oh, this is what fashion designers do it, so I'm going to do it that way. It looked legit. So I think that it was pretty cool, and they loved it, and they both made their gear based off of it and shouted that person out. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
But otherwise, I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was really cool because it was also like not typical, where Bayley's nose ring seemed to get pushed into her nose some, and it bled.
Yeah.
Like, so to have her nose be bleeding on the outside like that was pretty cool to me.
I like how she shrugged it off too.
Yeah.
She didn't even notice, and then at one point she kind of like rubbed her nose. I was like, oh, that's happening.
Yeah, like her nose had been stinging or something. At one point she goes like this, and then she looks at it and she's like, oh. And you're all like, yeah, your fucking face is bleeding, bitch.
Don't call her bitch.
No, she'd kick the shit out of me for sure. I'd curl up like a baby. I wouldn't even try and fight back. With Brock, I would try and fight back just to see how far I could get. Bayley, I wouldn't even try.
Brock's got the Achilles heel. You just kick him in the nuts and
that's a good point.
You run away.
Yeah. We already know how to beat Brock.
Yeah.
It's the Bayley we haven't figured out yet.
That's a good thing.
But obviously, as a big Bayley mark, I was super excited, but I was super nervous. I didn't think she was going to come out with the title. I really didn't. We were wearing all of our Bayley gear, but we really felt like there's every good reason to give it to Sasha right now. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. I think it was I think Becky Shayna was just such a good match. It was a good, solid match. It was one of the highlights of the of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I got no. I thought it was great. I had no complaints about it. I thought it was really well put together. It was one of the few matches there that just had me at the edge of my seat, literally for moments. And for like the second that Sasha got out, I was kind of like, holy shit. And I was like, Sasha's out. It's just down to Lacey Bayley. What do they do? Do they go here? Do they go there? And I felt kind of like a kid again, where it was really like, who's going to get this win? And it was really, it was cool. That was one of the few times during WrestleMania and one of the few times during the year that I just got caught up in the moment of who's going to win this match. I would say Bayley and Becky matches are the two matches that do that to me. But that was definitely one of them.
With that, should we get to the Fiend?
If you guys have nothing else to say about that, then I say fuck yeah, get to the Fiend. The last thing really to talk about, because we already talked about Drew and whoever the other guy was, Brock. I would say, Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. What'd you guys think? Okay.
It might be, it's up there with Kofi for, I think, my favorite WrestleMania moment, period.
Yeah?
I thought it was a really, really well put together event. The only thing I would say, and this is an odd thing, I'm cautious to call it a match.
So I entertain the conversation with both the Barnyard and Funhouse matches as those may not be matches, but I think they definitely fit into our world or our universe, as it were.
Yes. I think it's a great... It did a lot for both characters. I think we needed to see John Cena lose, but I also know that, or I've always got the feeling that it's a thing that's hard to do. It's hard to make, to put John Cena in a spot where he loses, because of just what he is. I think this was a great way to do that, kind of showcase how that could have occurred and what it would mean. And
yeah,
I think it was just absolutely fantastic from start to finish. There's a lot of layers to it. You know, evidently Marsh found a not Sam thing where he went over it for about an hour. And there's a lot of different interpretations. To me, the biggest thing was the way I saw it was the idea of John Cena facing himself. It was John Cena being put through everything he hasn't been put through in the past, like 20 years of his career, you know?
Yes.
And I thought that was just great, you know?
I did just send both to Kevlar and Clump the Not Sam Roberts. If you go to YouTube, Not Sam Roberts does a breakdown of the Fiend Firefly Funhouse against John Cena. And he kind of goes frame by frame, but not quite frame by frame. Kind of like moment by moment of a breakdown of his interpretation of it personally. And I'll say out of the 8 or 9 that I've seen so far, people breaking it down, I feel like that the Sam Roberts one is the most on the button. A lot of them get a roundabout close to, or they're a little off field to me. And this is the one that I felt was the closest to what I think that they were thinking when they made it. There's a couple things in there that I think could be added onto it, but I don't think there's anything he has that could be taken away. And I do feel that there's a lot of other interpretations I've seen where I feel like pull this out, pull that out, this was correct. I feel like there's a lot of takeaways. With Sam Roberts, I feel like you leave it, but there's a couple things you can add to it. And I think he's even open to that personally as well. But I do encourage both of you guys and anyone else out there watching us to watch the YouTube at Not Sam Wrestling and check out his breakdown of Firefly Funhouse. I even had it playing with my Firefly Funhouse on mute and was pausing it when he would pause at places and talk. And I felt like it super helped breaking it down. And I rewatched it again right before we went on the air. And everything he said rang so true to me. I'd be curious what you guys think about it afterwards. And maybe next week we'll be able to break that down a little bit more. But I agree with Clump saying that this may be one of the single greatest pieces of art that Wrestlemania has ever made. I think this is truly a piece of art. I like that Sam Roberts described it as if Vince McMahon looked over at David Lynch and said, "Could you take my wrestling promotion for a minute?" Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in here. And I think the symbolism, I think the acting was probably better than we've seen. The only people I could think who could even come close would be Orton and Edge.
Well, for acting, I also think Becky. I mean, Becky's just such a great actress.
Becky is an incredible actress. I don't know that she's put on a performance on this level yet.
Not yet, but I could, like...
I don't count her out.
No, watching Bray and Cena, I thought, oh man, Becky could do something like
Oh,
this.
Becky could be here for sure.
Like, on the acting level, I was like, man, this is probably what she wants.
Yeah.
Like, cause she's talked about wanting to do theater, and it just made me think of that. Like, man, this is like something special.
I could see that for
Like
sure.
the Miz.
Like the Miz? Hell yeah. But I absolutely loved Firefly Funhouse. At some point, we've been having an issue with the file types on our computer. At some point, I do want to put out like kind of a fast-paced reaction video. But during that video, from the time it started, me and Clump were watching together, and it was pretty much just the two of us at that point, right, Clump?
yeah.
At that point, we were watching, and it just basically got silent. Or you're watching and both just going like, what?
Well, and I had my producer come in, and she was like, also like, whoa, like just that it took her, and I think the biggest thing I would say and why I put this show above everything else, and I loved everything else as WrestleMania. I loved Edge Orton. I loved a lot. I have not been invested in John Cena in a while. Yes, he's good.
Okay.
Yeah, he does good matches, and I honestly have liked him more outside of the ring than I have in the ring. I respect what he's done, but the past 5 years, whenever I've seen, John Cena's going to be on it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll find out what it is, but I can take it or leave it. Because the character to me has become very, very one-dimensional. I found this amazing because, yeah, it was an interpretation of Cena, but it was with Cena doing it. And Cena going in at it all the way. And
Which
you could
was
see
compelling.
him put everything he puts into whatever he does. And that made me really happy. It made me really like Cena. And I haven't honestly been like, yeah, I really like Cena since I was 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
Since he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. Since he was kind of the heel. I didn't like the never give up thing. I get it. I think it's awesome, but it took someone who I did feel was overrated in a lot of ways and frustrated with at times because I didn't like when it would be like, okay, well, he's going to go over that person. Great.
Yeah.
And was like, okay, I really, really appreciate Cena because this is, it took a lot of people to do this, but it took him. If he didn't go along with this, if he didn't accept this happening, with everything he put into it, this would have sucked.
And he put everything into it.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched it, like I said, literally less than an hour before we went live. I watched it again. And as we're watching it, producers like cooking and coming over and just captivated by it for minutes at a time and being like, this is an incredible performance by both people. Like, if awards were given out for this segment and Boneyard, I wouldn't be shocked in the least. I wouldn't say, how did they win a thing? I'd be like, yeah, that's some of the greatest acting I've seen in so long. But, Kevlar, what did you think of Firefly Funhouse?
I really liked it. I thought it was cool how they went through his career, kind of. I told you yesterday, I think it was, that it kind of reminded me of the Mankind doing The Rock's, this is your life type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, this is your career, this and that. And, it was really good. I liked it, a lot. The only downside I would say about it is I would have liked it a little more creepier.
A little creepier?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
It's alright. It's like a hot air balloon. You gotta come back down sometimes.
Alright. So,
But, to me it was supposed to be the Firefly Funhouse. He was there, then he went into, the unknown layer or whatever they're going to call it. And I would have liked it to be just a little bit creepier, like a little more fiend, a little more, mind games and stuff like that. But besides that, I thought it was great.
Whoa!
No,
More mind games? Did you think there was a fraction of a second here that wasn't a fucking mind game?
the whole thing was a mind
It was all mind game, dude.
Yeah, I would have liked more creepy mind games, not just the, hey, this is what you did, this is your biggest failure and stuff like that. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it just needed the creepy aspect that the Fiend brings to things. And I think it lacked that. That's my only complaint about it.
I don't think it lacked that. I see what you're saying because it didn't feel like House of Horrors level creepy. But the amount of mental anguish they were putting on John Cena during this frame by frame. It started out with Cena coming out to the crowd and there was no crowd. And he's going like end to end like, what do I do? What do I do? And then it goes, welcome to Wrestlemania. And he's doing the thing. And then it cuts to Vince McMahon saying it and Mean Gene saying it. because Cena is just a fucking shill and just a mouthpiece for Vince McMahon, and it flips the whole world upside down and says, you're going to face every fucking failure you've ever had. Not only professionally, but major ones personally. The fact that he brought up the Nikki Bella shit, the fact that he brought up the ruthless aggression, the fact that Thugonomics was what it was, the fact he brought up the not turning heel. In WrestleMania 30, he's like, all you have to do is hit me with his chair and everything changes. Because that's the moment that Cena would have turned heel and that Bray would have turned face. And that's when everything could have changed. And that's when they brought in the NWO with the stuff, saying like, remember when Hogan would never turn heel and then he did? What would have happened if Cena would have turned heel?
No, exactly. And, I understand that and stuff like that. But by more mind games, what I was trying to bring up is, like I said, the more creepy aspect. When your main audience are kids, a lot of kids aren't going to understand this.
Yeah, this was not meant for kids.
This wasn't for the kids.
Lived through it, that, have seen all this, understand it, but, the kids aren't understanding this. They're just like, all right, this is weird. What's this? What's this?
This one
And I think you needed the horror aspect of it to drive that home for everybody.
Disagree.
I think that this was one that wasn't for everybody. I can agree to that. This was not for everybody. And I think that for WrestleMania being for everybody for so long, for so many segments, I do agree that this segment specifically wasn't for everybody. I can agree to that. I don't think it means that you change it. I think that you allow it to not be for everybody, personally.
No, I'm not saying change it per se, but I'm saying, you keep everything that was there, but you add the creepy depths of hell that the Fiend's supposed to be from.
But this is John Cena's hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a part of this that wasn't John Cena's hell. And I do also think there's a possibility that may have been the last John Cena we ever see in WWE.
I don't think so.
Producer here, I always thought that the Fiend was more of a carnival creepy. I never thought he was just out of any horror flick. I really thought he's in this like warped mental state of carnival. I mean, he's got the pants, he's got the mask.
Yeah.
And so when I thought Funhouse, that's exactly what I thought. I thought this is gonna be weird, fucked up shit, and it was. Yeah. In the strangest, most abstract and real sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing.
I think there's a very real possibility that disappearance of John Cena could be the last time we see John Cena. I don't think it has to be, but I think that's a reality that you have to face.
I get that. I think it would be a neat cap on his career in a sense. I don't know if it'll be. It doesn't have to be, but if it did, it's a good end to it.
How poetic would that be, too? Where it's this John Cena 15 years of being on the top and the rise of John Cena and the John Cena era, and then being capped off by Bray Wyatt finally breaking through and saying you're nothing more than muscles and a bully. And you're fooling not only yourself, but everyone around you. And getting him to the point where even John Cena said the point of this WrestleMania is to take out the most overrated, overhyped, overprivileged superstar that's ever been on this roster. And you think at first, oh, he's talking about Bray, he's talking shit. But if he's not, if he's talking about Cena, then that's the way to go out. Fuck. How else do you have a retirement match for John Cena that's less, it's more impactful than that? To have a Fiend take him out that way.
And if you see it that way, like then even that last promo where he comes out and says, "I'm not going to come here," that I'm going to let this move on.
Yeah,
that speaks to that, because what kind of overprivileged, entitled asshole says, I'm going to step back so y'all can do what you want to do? Because clearly y'all care about me.
Yeah.
And isn't that the right thing to do when you retire? You put someone else
Yeah.
over, right?
How much bigger could you put Bray Wyatt over?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we could get Cena coming back to do a retirement speech, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we get John Cena back the same way we've ever seen him before.
Yeah. No, I agree with it. I think that's. I mean, there's so many layers to it. I think it was. I hope this is the end. Honestly,
In a way,
Like,
it's the
it's-
most beautiful ending
yeah.
I can think of.
Now, just
See, I just don't think it has the buildup of a true ending.
What do you think is missing?
Well, no, I was just saying, like, if this is the end, it'd be great, but I think the buildup of it should have been more than just, all right, I'm not going to do anything. All right, I'm facing the Fiend. All right, goodbye.
Yeah, so you're saying you wish it was more of like a retirement match. Traditional, I'm putting my career on the line, where people can go in there emotionally expecting you to lose and end your career.
Not so much that, but, hey, you know, let's build this up for a couple months.
He can.
Instead
This
of
was
2 week
6
buildup.
years!
He's doing movies, too. I mean, he's not...
No, I'm saying the buildup to the match. The match had a 2 week buildup.
Yeah,
Or
but the
3 week
match had a
buildup.
6-year backstory.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
but the backstory to me still wasn't there as much as a buildup should be.
I think the breakdown of his entire career as a bully and a muscle-bound, no talent, which is kind of how he was portrayed in all of that. Apart from him being good on the mic, it showed him being good on the mic, but, like, I think all of that kind of, like, covers that ground. I'm not saying it's impossible for him to not be done with his career, but I'm saying I think there's a very real possibility. We have to look at this as the end of John Cena's career.
No, I know, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not arguing that. I think a match like this would be great for his career to end up, but I think this should have been building up from Rumble, is all I'm saying. Not, you know, SmackDown 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Man, when did it start? Because it was really, he came back when there was still a crowd. There was even a crowd
But I want
the
to say
week
that
after.
was the last of the crowd, wasn't it?
Wasn't
I
it?
think
Wasn't
right
it?
after Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering, if there was even a crowd the week after that. I don't think there was.
No.
I don't think there was.
Because I think once it started, we were like so excited he's back, and then that's when the
Yeah,
stuff
and then it was like, what the
happened.
fuck do you do at that point?
Yeah, it was the beginning of March, because that's when because we were gonna see him live. Well,
He was
no,
there the week after we saw live.
Yeah, the week after, so we just missed him.
Yeah, but the week after that, I think there was no people. And I do think that it's a bit nuts if the end of his career was in front of no one. How poetic is that shit, too? Like, fuck. We got some real chance for some real goddamn art coming out of wrestling right now.
Producer, I was kind of wondering in the back of my mind how Matt Hardy really feels about all this. Because you cannot say WWE the creative just doesn't appreciate art. You cannot say that now.
That's true.
This is so poetic and abstract and just, like, it's so artistic that you cannot argue. Creative just doesn't care about art. They just want to do what they want to do. They don't care about stories. This was all...
Well, I think that's a little BS, because at the same time, Matt Hardy, you know, it took WWE not to have audience and not to have, you know, a crowd there for them to do something like this.
But they
Whereas
did
if
it.
things went on as planned, I don't think it goes on like this.
How do we know?
I think that that's possible. I think there's a reality to that. But at the same time, if you're Matt Hardy, just to play devil's advocate there, do you look at this WrestleMania and think, shit,
Fuck. Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have left when I left?
I'm not...
Because not only is WWE accepting the abstract, the art, the cinematic matches, but what could we have done with a Matt Hardy compound match in WrestleMania right now? We could have had a Boneyard, a Funhouse, and a compound. You know what I mean? If you're Matt Hardy, do you look at this WrestleMania and say, well, shit. I could have waited another year. Fuck.
I mean...
Because what he's doing in AEW doesn't look better than what's happening here.
And I don't know, of course, we don't know why they weren't using Matt Hardy well. We have no idea.
Yeah,
We're
I think you give Matt Hardy what he wants to do and give him some reins so he doesn't go out of control. But I think you do more stuff with him. But that is a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, but you also got to think, if Matt Hardy went up to WWE brass, 3-4 months ago and says, hey, I want to teleport, they're going to look at him like he's insane.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I'm thinking I should teleport for a while. We think you should go back to the goddamn dressing room.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I do think that there's something... I know Matt Hardy wouldn't accept it right now, but I think if you ask Matt Hardy in 5 years, what did you think about how you left and then there was a Boneyard match and a Firefly Funhouse match immediately after you left? What do you think about that? How did you feel? Like, if you're honest with yourself, are you truly looking at that and not thinking, well, shit, we could have had a compound match at WrestleMania?
Yeah, but like I said, it's victim of circumstance, basically.
Oh, for sure. I don't think these matches would have happened if there was a stadium.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, and I think Matt Hardy, is probably looking at this in hindsight now and saying, holy shit, that was cool. That was, abstract and it was very art. But, like I said, when he was leaving, he didn't think, hey, a pandemic's going to hit and everything's going to be, very cinematic.
Yeah, 100%. I actually meant to watch the Ultimate Deletion before we got on the air today, too, just so I could see the WWE Ultimate Deletion. I was going to try and find the TNA Ultimate Deletion to see differences, and I did not do that. So hopefully by the time we're on next, I'll be able to do that so I can give kind of an overall cinematic view of cinematic wrestling. I'll say I don't feel the big need for an audience right now, but I do feel that if you're Matt Hardy, you look at it and you think, what could WrestleMania have looked like if I was a part of it this year? You know what I mean?
They wouldn't have used him.
You don't think they would have used him at all?
You don't think if Bray
100%.
asked?
100%.
Bray's on top.
Like, I think when we say that, when we make that statement about how does Matt Hardy feel, we wouldn't have used him. The reason he left, in my eyes, was, when he says creative control, is that he wasn't being used, and they didn't give him that freedom. Looking back at it, he can say, yeah, that's cool that they did that, but they weren't doing a fucking thing with me, so we would have just had him sit. He might have been able to be in a match, but they would have just had him sit. We don't know if he would have done it. I don't know. It's a cool fantasy thought to think of that, but they weren't doing shit with him before, and they tried to do it, and they did it differently. They moved on from it. They didn't connect with each other, so I don't know.
But Matt and Bray were working so closely together.
But I don't think it would have done anything with him. I think he would have just sat at home.
He may have ended up producing Firefly Funhouse. He may not have been they may not have had an extra match, but he may have been a producer on the Funhouse because him and Bray are great friends.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? And could he have been part of something fantastic in that realm? If they would use him or not, but this would have been the time that they would have if they could have. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we didn't want to use you for Mania. I'll tell you that in your face. But we're in a position now where we really can't use anybody. So how about we film something at your fucking compound and see what we can do with it? You know what I mean? Like, I think the conversation could have happened
when he was there as a producer, though, and they didn't.
They did. He didn't want to do the producer bit. He said he still had more to provide in the ring, which is also fair.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But he very well could have been a part of the production of both the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. And on top of that, if they were in this position that they're in, they could easily have said, hey, we weren't going to put you in Mania, but we don't got a lot of fuck else to do right now. So we really want to do something at your compound. And it could have been something. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say that he would be just flat out not in it. But I would say that he would have been a part of at least the creative for these types of matches, because I don't think that Vince gave an honest, solid look at these types of matches until the Ultimate Deletion. Even when the House of Horrors had happened and they tried it, didn't work out well. I think here's where they would have looked to Matt and said, what can you tell us? They may not have used much, but they would have talked to him, I feel.
Well, I see, and I think WWE moving forward, because just like the Ultimate Deletion, just like the Bray Orton match, what was it called? The Horror House, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you can't put these matches on network.
Yeah.
Because you can't show them in the stadium. People get bored. They'll boo it. And be like, I could have spent my money watching it at home. But I think you can have these on the network like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be the reality for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about it, we don't know how long this is going to go
And
on.
I do think that, as long as we're talking about Matt Hardy a little bit, I do think them moving to that new location, the undisclosed location, which we won't talk about, could be a better thing for Matt Hardy than a lot of the other options there. I think that huge arena was just exposing Matt Hardy for being a video glitch. You know what I mean? Where with them being in a more closed environment without the air and without all of that, it could provide Matt Hardy with a lot more of a sound stage to provide some really cool content. And I think there's a possibility for some awesome stuff there. But I do think that if you're Matt Hardy, you can't help but think, how could I provide it to this WrestleMania this year? Probably big. Maybe none at all. But could have been big. He could have been a big part of it. I think it's just interesting to think about. I'm not saying he should have, could have, would have, or any of that. I'm just saying that guy's got a mind and a thought process for it all, so it'd be interesting to see. Or it's fun to think about, not that it should have been. You know what I mean?
I thought, when I was watching it, that was my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time, I was a bit sad, because I was like, man, this would have been perfect for him. Like,
I wonder how much he and Bray were talking together anyways. Because they're just good friends. I wonder how much Bray was reaching out to him anyways. Hey, I'm doing this thing.
I know.
What do you think about this or that? You know what I mean? Like, I wonder, he may have been involved in it and can never say he was. That's a very real possibility, too.
It's true. It's true. It was amazing.
When you guys get yourselves a good 50 minutes or so, go ahead and watch that. Kevlar, are you asleep?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. When you get a good 50 minutes or so, go ahead and watch that Sam Roberts review, the breakdown of the Funhouse. Watch it one time after that, and next week let's all talk about some of this more cinematic stuff. I'm gonna watch the Ultimate Deletions this week as well. Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
That's 1 out of 2. That's good.
I said yeah.
Yeah.
Did not.
Yeah, we thought you fell back asleep.
Yeah. I think Sam's breakdown is pretty great, and I think that there's a lot of things that we kind of don't see. But I loved Firefly Funhouse. I absolutely loved Boneyard match. I loved all the fucking crazy Undertaker shit. Come on, son. We're just getting started, boy. Like,
Shit, you made me bleed.
yeah, shit. I kept waiting for him to be so like, AJ, you got a real pretty mouth.
So out of the WrestleMania weekend, what was your guys' favorite match? If you had to pick one.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Probably Wyatt Cena. If I had to pick a segment, I'd say Wyatt Cena. If I had to pick a match where Boneyard and Firefly Funhouse was not involved, I might say probably Edge and Orton.
Yeah.
I want to say Becky. I do. I have so much allegiance to Becky. I want to say Becky Shayna, best match of the year. But I think I fall back on Edge and Orton because I think that story, that grit, that desire, that need to prove yourself story, I think is a little more, there's a little bit more there than I think just Becky holding on to her title for one more night, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love that beginning segment of that scene with Cena and Bray. Just the realization on Cena's face of, oh shit, you might be right. I'm
one dimensional.
Right.
Yeah.
That realization on his face, and then the heartbreak at the same time in Bray's voice and on his expressions on his face.
Yeah.
That was just, you could feel their emotions, both of their faces and their voices. Just, you knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah. Bray was like so disappointed in John. And during the Ruthless Aggression segment, when he comes out and he goes, what makes you think you can come out and challenge Bray Wyatt? And he's like, Ruthless Aggression. And he goes and swings for it. And he ducks it, which Kurt Angle didn't duck it because Kurt Angle accepted it. But Bray ducks it and comes up and he goes, that's all you got? Ruthless Aggression? That's it? And Cena can do nothing or say nothing more than Ruthless Aggression and swing. Because his character was so one-dimensional. And the idea that Bray's just kind of laughing at him almost like, this isn't it. This is a failure. You're a one-dimensional character. This isn't going to last. The look that Cena gives Bray during that, right before they turn to the next segment, which I believe is Saturday night's main event, he has this scared look on his face like, oh shit, this is real now. This is exposing me, you know? Kind of a really cool moment. So if I'd say, you know, yeah, cinematically, Firefly Funhouse, match-wise, in the ring and out, I'd say Edge and Orton. What say you, Kevlar?
I agree definitely with Edge and Orton, but I think the Boneyard match was better.
That's fine.
I like... What's that?
That's good?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I took away more from that than I did the Firefly Funhouse, and I think a lot of it was just aesthetically.
Yeah.
Like, the Firefly Funhouse was there, but it was just dark, and you saw what they wanted you to see, but there was nothing else in the environment.
I got you. So, segment-wise, you'd say Boneyard, but match-wise, you say Edge Orton?
Yeah.
What say you, Clump?
Segment-wise, cinematic-wise, Fiend, 100%. It just was something truly special to me. Match-wise, I'm tied. That's gonna be weird.
Yeah. Liv?
Between Edge Orton and the Daniel Bryan match.
Sammy? Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn I thought was fantastic. I thought a few really underrated things that no one was talking about. I thought Sammy and Daniel Bryan came up to me. Becky Shayna, a lot of people were talking about it. I thought Elias and Corbin was really good as a match that didn't seem to need a crowd, and they didn't respond to a crowd like it was there. So I agree with those completely, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the reason I say Sammy and Daniel Bryan was for the environment they were in as a match. I think it might be the best match I've seen using that environment.
Yeah.
Because that storytelling, particularly Sammy, the yelling, the crying, the pandering, with a crowd wouldn't have worked.
I loved that Sammy was being a piece of shit with no crowd there to boo him. Running out of the ring and running back in, so fucking good. So that night we were watching with a few of my brother's friends, more so than my own, and I just fed into it because there's one guy there who actually was hosting the whole party, and he hates Sami Zayn. He said he's such a chicken shit.
All online.
Yeah, it was all through Zoom. And as Sammy's running into the ring, I would say, "What the fuck, Daniel Bryan? Sammy's in the middle of the ring. Get in there. Quit fucking around on the outside already." And the guy would just be like, "Shut up already. Fuck Sami Zayn." You know what I mean? Like, the guy was getting so worked up over it. And there was so many moments of Sammy running out of the ring and running back into the ring that I 100% felt like it was like catering to a crowd that wasn't there, but at the same time just being a piece of shit because he didn't want to be in the match.
Yeah.
So I agree 100%. Great match.
I support that.
Anything else anybody wants to say?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
I think we're good. Raw was what it was. Nia Jax is back. Apollo Crews is on Raw.
Liv had a great match.
Liv had a great match against Asuka. Check it out. Apart from that, I'd say we're good. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll check you out next week. We're all going to check out Sam Roberts on YouTube and check out the Firefly Funhouse. Last call.
And happy
Boom.
1 year.
Happy
For
1
extra-
year. Check out
For our
Wrestling on
extra
Rocks.com.
large anniversary show.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a marathon.
Yeah, that could have been 2 days.
Yeah.
Too
Should
big.
have been 2 days.
Yeah.